Well, hello everyone, and hello everyone, and welcome once again to Coach's Corner with myself, Manny Thangadurai, and Hanno Trollope running the show from behind the scenes due to circumstances. We are bringing you coverage of the first game of the ICC Men's 2020 World Cup, which actually has just gotten underway. 2 overs are almost over. I can tell you that the Australian team won the toss, and Aaron Finch, the captain, had elected to field first and so stick New Zealand in. But it's already looking like a bit of a decision to be regretted, as right now we are in the 6-over power play, which are the first 6 overs of the 20 of an innings where the field has got to be inside the circle. And after those 6 overs, the field can be spread however so desired. And it's obviously this particular game is the curtain raiser to the World Cup. These two teams have had a really storied history. They, in fact, played the first 2020 international together. And their head-to-head record in T20 internationals is 10 wins for Australia, 5 wins for New Zealand. Both teams, obviously, terrific limited overs outfits. And this promises to be a very entertaining game. And, of course, right, so I will wait for this over to finish before talking about the following the game, but I'm now obviously giving you a somewhat delayed build-up. And I'm also going to start by telling you the team news, so we will get back underway with that. Now, of course, these are the two teams. Australia, the home team, playing, of course, at the Sydney Cricket Ground. They are being led by Aaron Finch, who will be... obviously, a lot of focus will be on him and Harry leads the team today, and some key players will be David Warner. Mitchell Marsh is expected to open the batting alongside him, along with Glenn Maxwell and Tim David coming in, who will be expected to provide some fireworks. No place in the starting 11 for former Australia Test captain Steve Smith, who is, of course, the current vice captain now. Talk about resurrection there. Stoinis will be in the team. Matthew Wade is, of course, the wicketkeeper. Of course, Australia's Test captain Pat Cummins is there in the team, followed by the left-arm seamer Mitchell Starc and Josh Hazlewood, who will be opening the bowling. And, of course, Adam Zampa is there, who will provide leg spin. And here is New Zealand's side, opening with Devon Conway and Finn Allen. The left-handed Conway and the right-handed Allen will provide some contrast there. You always want to have that left-right-hand partnership. Kane Williamson, of course, is leading the team, and there's a huge group of young players here, like Glenn Phillips and Mark Chapman. A few experienced players like Jimmy Neesham and Mitchell Santner, of course. You cannot look further beyond Tim Southey and Trent Bolt to provide some experience in the bowling side of things. Lockie Ferguson and Ish Sodhi also complementing the lineup well, and of course Conway, in addition to opening the bowling, will also be keeping wicket. So this is pretty much how they will be lining up. And I can tell you right now that with 2 overs of the 6 now completed, New Zealand rather is sitting very pretty at 29 for 2. So it looks as though Finch's decision to bowl first might be backfiring, with both the left armer Mitchell Starc and the right armer Josh Hazlewood struggling to get the right length, and Conway and Finn Allen pretty much picking them off. And there's been a 6 and I believe 3 4s hit in the innings. I will confirm already. I will confirm that. And looks as though Australia might be up against it, but we will see. And of course, I will provide detailed descriptions of each and every delivery and tell you what happens. And obviously, hopefully you will enjoy this watch along right now. So, unsurprisingly, Mitchell Starc has been taken out of the attack and Pat Cummins has been brought in. Right arm fast medium bowler, 29 years of age, bowling over the wicket to the left-handed Conway, who gets it on the onside and should be able to get a single, and he does. So Australia now conceded 30 runs in the first 13 balls. And you can see right now the struggles that Hazelwood and Stark have had. Stark in particular was picked all over the place by Finn Allen in the first over. And Allen, of course, getting into his stride right away. Beautifully done. And do the Australian bowlers not like that? And of course, wherever you are in the world, hopefully you will enjoy some good quality cricket. You can, of course, catch the action on the television wherever you may be in the world. Of course, in England, it should be shown on Sky Sports. Cummins over the wicket, and very nearly a wicket there, but just over Adam Zampa's hands at the leg gully region, and that has gone all the way for 4. So it looks as though New Zealand are riding their luck here. And you can see the effect that Cummins has had. Bustling run up, short delivery, and Allen had lost control of the bat, but Zampa couldn't hold on to it. And I think Zampa will be disappointed because, that is a catch which normally should be taken. And, of course, good captaincy there from Finch to keep a leg gully. Cummins again now over the wicket. And Allen is in no mood to mess around. Another beautiful, beautiful shot over extra cover for 4. And the New Zealand fans are loving it. Putting the power and power play right there. Straighten Finn Allen's line of vision. Beautifully carved over extra cover. No fielders getting that. And of course, with every single fielder, with almost every fielder up in the circle, this looks like being a very, very long period for Australia. 38 for none. Timing it beautifully, but this time finding the fielder. Aaron Finch, who throws it to the wicketkeeper, Matthew Wade. Of course, trying to encourage his boys, but of course, hindsight being 2020, I think Aaron Finch will be wondering about the wisdom of that decision there. And all of you who are joining in, please do not hesitate to come into the chat. I'm sure Hanno will be playing some of your messages, and hopefully I would love to see all of you come in. 2 balls left in the over. Short ball, picked away beautifully by Finn Allen for a 6. All the way across square leg. Nobody's getting that. And already he's raced to 33 off 12 with Conway on 11 off 5. And sadly, that was short, straight at him and had "hit me" written all over it. And Finn Allen ended up saying, "Thank you very much indeed." And still clearly Cummins is struggling as well. Final ball with the over. And once again, Allen finds the gap. I don't think it'll go to the boundary because Finch has that covered. And that is, of course, thrown back for an easy 2. And after 3 overs, New Zealand are 46 without loss. So a huge struggle right now. Do apologise for that. So clearly we see the struggles coming in. And it's another bowling change with Marcus Stoinis coming in, all-rounder, who can hopefully find the right line to bowl. And there will be certainly some change needed. So right-handed, over the wicket to the left-handed Devon Conway, who glides it beautifully onto the offside, and they run for an easy 2. 48 without loss. And so Tim David there with the throwback, of course, played for Singapore as an expatriate, but is now established in the Australian team and could very well be one of their leading players. I mean, not leading, but certainly one who is expected to provide some sort of an impact. And we have some shots of the crowd, of course, which will be welcome. Stoinis again, second ball. And we have a wicket, do we? No, we don't. According to the umpire, it went over his shoulder, and that is the one legal delivery allowed over the shoulder. And of course, if you bowl more than one delivery which goes above the batsman's shoulder, that is considered a no ball, and the batsman gets a free hit. And I don't know if Australia are reviewing that. I think both wicketkeeper Wade and bowler Stoinis realised that Conway didn't quite get glove or bat to that, so just fell right over his head. So charmed life there. Stoinis seems to have the measure of things. And so it's all happening out there. Clearly the Australian team are looking a bit befuddled, not really able to answer to New Zealand's attack. And I think there's a man coming onto the field right now with a bucket of something. We will see what that is. Of course, I'm able to watch the game, but I do not want to run the risk of, hearing some volume coming in, have some picture being shown. Copyright will always be a problem, you see. And I think the man has been brought on to try to add something to the pitch. I suppose in some ways, yes, the footmark's obviously a bit of a problem. So that man was brought on to bring some what looks like sand to me, or reinforced sand, to put onto the pitch. And clearly the New Zealand fans are loving every bit of it. The Aussie fans, not so much, and you can't really blame them. So far, Finn Allen has taken the initiative, and Conway has played a good supporting role, but we're only 3.2 overs in. Stoinis now over the wicket. And a sort of slower ball, which resembled a kind of leg spin sort of action. Swing and a miss from Conway. No harm, no foul. He survives. And so this bowling change will seem to have worked a bit. Now, the television is showing these distances for the boundary. Obviously, I mean, these fields are not exactly symmetrical in that sense of the word. The offside boundaries for the left-handed Conway from the Paddington, with the bowler from the Paddington end, seem to be a lot longer. Stoinis now. Tip into the field, and he gets a single. So that brings Finn Allen on strike now for the final 2 balls. And if New Zealand do manage to make their 50th run in the 4th over, that would be a really terrific start, putting the power in power play. Kumar Dharmasena there, the umpire, former Sri Lankan international, and also a member of their history-making 1996 World Cup winning team. The year when Sri Lankan cricket really started to establish itself as a global cricketing power. Three runs off this over, so a good over and a good change from Aaron Finch. 2 balls left. Let's see what Allen can do. And he hits it high, but is it far? Yes, it is. 6 runs from Finn Allen, and that brings up New Zealand's 50 in the 4th over with 1 ball left. So 41 off 14. Finn Allen has come to the party, ladies and gentlemen. Not exactly Huckleberry Finn, but whatever. Running down beautifully, getting to the line of the ball very well, and at 92 meters, that was long, that was handsome, and that went a long way. Not sure if it went out at the stadium though, but you can see the New Zealand fans loving that. So 55 for no loss, and that was fielded, of course, by Stoinis, but he let go of it rather, and New Zealand are able to run for 1. So 56 for no loss after 4 overs. This has been a magnificent power play for New Zealand so far. So basically, to all of you who are watching, what happens is that there will be three sticks, which are sort of placed into the ground, and two bails in between. That constitutes your wicket. And so when I say over the wicket or around the wicket, it basically means that when for a bowler's hand, if dominant hand, if he's bowling closer to the stumps with the wicket on this side of his dominant hand, I'm left-handed, so if the ball were to my left, I'd be bowling over the wicket. If I were bowling with the stumps on my right, I'd be bowling round the wicket. And if you're right-handed, it would be vice versa. And so we're still in the power play, so there are two more overs. Josh Hazlewood, of course, is back into the attack. He went for 10 in his first over, including a 6 off his... Actually, no, that was the last over from Stoinis. So it started well, but didn't quite materialize. Hazlewood now back into the attack. 42 off 15, Finn Allen. Over the wicket and bowled him! Clearly, Allen wanted to make room for himself, but that was straight at the stumps. Classic right arm over the wicket. Kept low, and Allen tried to make some room to hit that shot, but it kept a bit low, and basically he just missed it. As a famous commentator would say, the ball was heading up the Piccadilly, and the bat went straight down the Bakerloo. And you can see how much it means to Hazlewood and to Australia. With 2 overs left in the power play, they needed that. 5 fours and 3 sixes for Finn Allen. Brilliant start from him. Very unfortunate to miss out on a half century, but with 42 off 15, he has given New Zealand a terrific start. And so the next batsman to come in, we will see who that is. Well, it looks as though it could either be Glenn Phillips or Captain Kane Williamson coming in. And of course, Williamson is the current captain in all formats and a bona fide legend now of New Zealand cricket, following in the footsteps of several batsmen who have come before him, and obviously playing a lot more tests and achieving a lot more in the game. And the team, of course, no longer has Brendan McCullum and Ross Taylor, among others, but certainly with some new players coming in and a few experienced players still in the side, it will be, I do believe that New Zealand cricket is in good hands right now. 80 innings in his 2020 career, 2,225 runs, a strike rate of 124 and an average of 33, with 15 scores above 50, 50 and above. His personal best is, of course, 95. So in T20 cricket, you have scores of 30 and above and then scores of 50 and above. If you are able to get a century, that is a feat in itself, given the short nature of the game. I must credit Aaron Finch for staying calm under the circumstances, because, being smacked at 14 and over in the power play opening overs was not something that they wanted. But that was a beautiful Yorker that kept low, and Finn Allen had no chance of that. You simply cannot try to play a ball that is that full. No chance. Got it spot on. And he knows that he's missed out on a 50. But I'm sure against the other teams, he will have more games to play. So, what kind of delivery will Kane Williamson face? Terrific start by his openers, but already the captain is in. Might be feeling the pressure. Naturally left-handed, but is playing as a right-hander and, of course, a right-arm off-spinner. So probably helps him in terms of being able to get some good control on his batting hand and being able to drive. And clearly there seems to be a delay on the field. I'm not too sure what's going on. I believe might be some delay of some sort. So with one right-hander going out, another right-hander comes in. And it will be interesting to see how well Williamson can fend off this hostile spell from Stoinis. He started with a wicket in this over, so already there is some pressure being applied. A good crowd here at the SCG, the Sydney Cricket Ground, one of the most iconic test venues. Over the years, in terms of test cricket, it's been known for providing aid to the spinners. So it could remain to be seen whether or not New Zealand's spinners will have a role to play. And we're just talking about the analysis here of Hazelwood's bowling. Yeah, you could see that when it came to the length he was bowling, he wasn't able to get it quite in. But the Yorker he got there, which kept low, was the perfect delivery. Now here's a second to the captain Williamson, who defends it all the way to slip, no run. And at the moment, New Zealand is still going quite well, but they will have to defend. And of course, yeah, you can see from the television, from what I'm watching, that Hazelwood had the length all wrong in his first over, but the Yorker length, that was the perfect delivery at the very beginning of the over, and Allen had no chance. Third ball of the over. Straight to Williamson, who clearly wants to play himself in, a sort of high defensive shot, if you will, to counter a rising ball, and still going strong is Hazelwood. So clearly now 3-dot balls and a wicket, and I think that has played a good role in so far slowing down the rate, which could end up dropping from 14 to 11.2. Williamson trying to get the fourth ball away on the onside, only finding the fielder, and Australia still continuing. I wonder if anyone has joined the chat. Of course, I'm sure that yep, we've got KFC delivery all the way from New Zealand. Yeah, sort of, and a few people have joined in already. So, fifth ball, and Williamson is off the mark with a boundary. Nice way to ease some pressure there, and the good work that Hazelwood has done has now been spoiled a bit. Another short ball, beautifully timed by Williamson, who was able to get it past Tim David over there, who was at gully, and that has gone all the way to the boundary. So that will definitely settle some nerves. So New Zealand are now 60 for 1 and still going strong. And we do have KFC delivery. Yep. And he's final ball over there. And Williamson plays it to the onside fielder. So I've just stood corrected. Apparently there is no free hit for a no ball for a bouncer. So thank you very much indeed for correcting me there, KFC. I stand corrected. Clearly you have your finger on the pulse there. Australia getting a taste of their own medicine. Couldn't agree more. And I think you have a point there where you say that Kane is probably a little bit too slow, but you can't be too harsh on him. He's just come in and obviously wants to try to steady the ship. It's not really, oh, you're not from New Zealand, you just want them to win. So I saw the NZ next to your name and I got confused, so my bad. He's obviously come in after the fall of a wicket, so you can't really expect him to go hammer and tongs. I think his role will be to try to stabilize things and have the batsman play around him. So New Zealand are 60 for 1 after 5, and Cummins is back into the attack. Right arm over the wicket to the left-handed Conway. And he plays at that and doesn't really get the timing or the connection he wants, and it goes through to the wicketkeeper, Matthew Wade, rather harmlessly. So New Zealand is still going strong at 12 and over, and this is, of course, the final over of the opening 6-over power play. And Conway is still there. A rather sedate start in comparison to Finn Allen, but he is still there and able to get some connection. Let's see how he handles Cummins now. Second ball. And rather innovative shot played, which beats the fielder for 4. Glenn Maxwell had no chance with that. So basically what happened was that Cummins was trying to sort of bowl a little bit wide in a way. And yep, it went a little bit wide. And so what Conway did was sort of bring his back leg a little bit further and sort of dab the ball so that it went all the way past the slip cordon, if there were slip cordon. I mean, actually, there was no slip cordon over there, and it went all the way to the boundary. So 64 for 1 after 5.2 overs. Third ball. So clearly Conway is trying to play himself in as well, and he's already got a decent start, still trying to continue some momentum. And I think the way New Zealand have started, they can continue to certainly just progress along fairly slowly, and it will be a challenge for Australia to try and get some wickets. These final 3 balls of the power play will be key, and after that, of course, the field can be set however wished. So round the wicket now to the left-handed Conway, and Conway ends up slashing that all the way past gully, all the way to Glenn Maxwell for a single, which brings Kane Williamson on strike. 5 off the over, and a somewhat sedate over in comparison, but still going strong are the Kiwis, or the Black Caps, of course, as they're called. And in rugby, of course, as we know, they're called the All Blacks, and that's another sport where you find a terrific rivalry between Australia and New Zealand, and Hanno, being South African, will know all about that. So 2 balls left in the over. And clearly, Cummins wants the field to be set within limits to see how well he can to help him in a way. Williamson now on strike. And he's back over the wicket, is Cummins. Straight up into Williamson, who plays it all the way to the mid-wicket area. And 1 more ball left of the power play. This is, of course, the first match of the Super 12 stages, and this is where the competition begins proper. We've had a few playoffs played for the Super 12 already. Last ball of the power play, over the wicket. Straight at Williamson, defends it well enough. And with that, the power play is over. New Zealand is 65 for 1, and now this is where Finch will have to earn his bread by making sure his field placing will be spot on. It'll be interesting to see whether or not he brings on Adam Zampa for some spin. Just taking a look at the lineup again, obviously Zampa will be called on for some spin. Maybe Glenn Maxwell can bowl a little bit of off spin. I'm not too sure. We'll have to see. Certainly a bit of a risk to only go into the side with 1 established spinner, but I think it might be fair to say that that Aaron Finch will be gambling on his fast bowlers being able to do the job. So far, though, they've been picked for runs, and obviously New Zealand are starting at a canter. It's just as well that Williamson has come in now, but he will have a big role to play. And so going back to what you said, KFC, I think the reason why he's batting that way is because he obviously wants to try and stabilize things. And it looks as though there'll be a fielding power play now because the signal has been made by the umpire. So it looks as though the field will be set in some way. And now Zampa's come into the picture here. 77 wickets in 70 matches. So he will definitely have a big role to play for Australia right now. And already in the 7th over, spin has been brought in. Over the wicket to the left-handed Conway, who picks that beautifully and finds the extra cover boundary. And that is 69 for 1 for New Zealand. First ball to start up. Not that bad a length, but straight in Conway's eye of vision. Beautifully glided past the extra cover region all the way to the boundary. And so not the most auspicious start for the leg spinner. Second ball. Bowled onto Conway's leg side. Tucks it away for 1 quite easily. And now that brings Williamson on strike. So obviously when it comes to a leg spinner, it'll be more of an action where it'll be a sort of a wrist spinning action like this. or probably like this if you're left-handed. And so the idea is for the ball, when it bounces on the pitch, to sort of come into the like it'll pitch on the right-handed batsman's leg side and then move into the off to try to confuse him. Let's see now how he bowls to the right-handed Williamson. And so Williamson goes down the track to the pitch of the ball and is able to get it all the way to long on for one, where Marcus Stoinis was there, and he threw the ball back there. So a lot of things happening right now, and obviously Aaron Finch's captaincy mettle is being tested, forced obviously to bring some spin on. It will be interesting to see who follows Zampa in this order. Fourth ball to the left-handed Conway, bowled at his leg side, tucks it away for another single. And so obviously, with all the emphasis on in T20 cricket being on being able to hit quite well, singles also help. They keep the scoreboard ticking. And with a left-right combination at the crease right now, and Williamson and Conway, this causes a lot more disruptions if you're a fielding side. And pitched at Williamson's off, worked away very well to the onside indeed, and Pat Cummins is there to cover up. So that was at square leg. 5 balls in, and already Zampa has been hit for 4, 8 runs from the over. And this is music, of course, to the eyes and ears of the New Zealand fans at the SCG. Last ball of Adam Zampa's over. And that's also well played by Devon Conway all the way down to long on, where Tim David is there to cover up. So 9 from the over, 74 for 1 after 7. And still no wicket after the early loss of Finn Allen. So it looks as though Williamson and Conway are starting to, do quite to sort of consolidate after the early loss of that wicket. And just checking the chat right now. Yeah, I'm not too sure what you would call that. Certainly, you could call that a back foot dab all the way to third man, if you will. So, yeah. Obviously, with regard to the sledging, I'm watching my television on mute, so I can't really hear what's being said. I think it is fair to say, though, that Australia are trying to move away from the the bullying aspect of their game, and obviously sledging isn't really playing as much a part anymore. I mean, sledging or no sledging, Australia and New Zealand would always be a very big rivalry. And so who do we have here coming into the attack? 8th over, Conway going quite well with 26 off 17. And it looks as though we are back with Stoinis, who will be lending some medium pace in. So I think it's fair to say that so far Zampa is the only spinner, but Finch could obviously turn to Maxwell for some part-time off-spin, maybe. So, right arm over the wicket to the left-handed Conway. And once again, expertly played onto the leg side, and they will come back for 2. So, excellent running between the wickets there. And obviously, when it comes to limited overs cricket, in addition to being able to hit the ball well, if you can find the gaps in the field and run very well, convert your 1s into 2s and your 2s into 3s, that always is important. And so far, it looks as though Finch doesn't have an answer for Conway being able to play into his leg side as a left-handed batsman. Field seems to be spread a bit too far. And once again, Stoinis has got his line all wrong, and more runs on the leg side for Conway. A single, though, albeit, but runs nonetheless. And that brings Williamson back on strike. So, really, obviously, a lot of things going on right now. And, yeah. I'm talking a mile a minute right now because I'm trying to keep track of everything. And obviously, the field now is being spread a great deal. It now seems to be a lot more of an attacking field for Kane Williamson's offside, which is the side to his right. And the trick for Williamson will be to try and find some gaps. Stoinis over the wicket to the right-handed Williamson. Nicely played by Williamson through the extra cover region, but straight to the fielder for a single. And they're still going along. So it looks as though there is, in fact, as I've said, a period of consolidation, and with wickets in hand, they can possibly afford to go really big, potentially in the last 6 overs. And now you can see the field is spread, but there's still a huge gap on the leg side for Conway. Let's see how he exploits that. And once again, I think Finch probably wants to try to give Conway as many singles as he can so that the bowler can maybe attack the new batsman in Williamson and try and put him under pressure. But so far, Williamson has not responded to the bait. He's not taken the bait so far, and he has, in fact, played very measurably. And we are still in the 8th over, 79 for 1, New Zealand, going along very well. A rate of over 10 and over is always good going, no question about it. 5th ball of the over, and awkwardly played, no run there, and clearly Williamson wasn't quite able to connect it. I mean, it's hard to describe really because, like I will describe it now. Over the wicket from the right arm stones to the right-handed Williamson, going across him, and he did get some bat to that, but it went on his body. It was never really going to go anywhere, and Wade had that covered. So clearly, correctly sent back by Devon Conway. It's never a nice look when you can't really connect, but final ball of the over. And that is a bouncer to end it. So actually, it's been called a wide by Dharmasena because it went all the way over the top. And of course, that isn't classified as a no ball. So yeah. That isn't a no ball. That is in fact classified as a wide. In fact, it was Williamson did the right thing by bending all the way over, and clearly Stoinis wasn't happy. So that takes New Zealand right now to 80 for 1. And that means they're still going strong at the rate of approximately 10 and over 10 and over, in fact. Last ball. Hit well on the leg side on the square leg region, but Maxwell was there, deep square leg in front of the boundary. So 8 overs gone, 81 for 1, and New Zealand is still doing quite well. So for all the talk about how T20 is a more truncated version of 50-over cricket, you still see some similar strategies being applied in terms of being able to consolidate in the middle overs and not really lose any wickets. These overs right now, from overs 7 to potentially 12 or 13, will be key for New Zealand because they will definitely not want to waste the start that they've been given. And of course, in the power play, it helped that they only lost 1 wicket. If you are unable to keep wickets intact during the power play and you lose quite a few, then it can certainly put your team under a lot of pressure. And we've seen in the playoffs how those teams who lost wickets during the power play ended up being at a disadvantage. And of course, with that single off the last ball of that over, Williamson has retained strikes. So it will be Adam Zampa continuing. And Williamson is once again surveying his field. So right arm over the wicket to the right-handed Williamson. Picking the line very well. Down to fine leg for a single. I mean, yeah, actually not fine leg. That's actually long on for a single. And Williamson still playing himself in. Is a little bit slow, but at this particular point, you don't really want to worry so much about speed as much as being able to keep yourself in the game and not really lose a wicket. Over the wicket to the left-handed Conway, who once again picks the line brilliantly to the leg side and gets another single. So these singles are going to frustrate Australia to no end. Oh, they would, of course, prefer it if they were dot balls, which will probably increase the pressure in some respects, but given the way they're going, they have no real reason to be, too perturbed about anything. And third ball is picked once again by Williamson. So Zampa hasn't offered much in terms of a threat all the way to long on where Stoinis was fielding. So 8.3 overs, 84 for 1. And we do see some rather happy Australians there with their flag, of course. The big difference, of course, between the Australian and the New Zealand flags is that New Zealand stars in the flag are red. And a reverse sweep there from Devon Conway, which goes straight to the short third man fielder. And clearly the captain is still a little bit concerned, but not really showing it. But again, that was good field placement over there, because obviously with the reverse sweep, if you're left-handed like Conway, you and as I say that was picked beautifully by Conway. Fifth ball, straight down the ground for 6. So as I was saying, if you're a left-handed batsman and you want to play a reverse sweep, you sort of, how do I put this? You sort of give yourself room on the offside and then swing it this way, sort of like a reverse hit. And we've seen in field hockey, for instance, where the sticks are always made right-handed, where people often try to play that way. But gorgeous hit that from Devon Conway. Takes the score to 90 for 1. Picked the line beautifully. And an appeal for an LBW? Pitched outside the line, but I think Aaron Finch has decided to review that, and with good reason. And this could be interesting, because after being hit for 6 off his previous ball, it looks as though Conway could be in a spot of bother. Now, to try and get an LBW decision is not easy, because we have a right-handed right arm leg spinner rather, who's bowling over the wicket to the left-handed batsman. So if it pitches outside the batsman's leg side, you cannot claim an LBW. But from the looks of it, it could have been pitched just in line. Australia trying for the review. The original decision was, of course, not out. Where does that pitch? Right in line from the looks of it, and hits Conway flush on the pad. The only question is, does it hit bat first? It looks as though it hits the pad first, and that could very well be a decision that sends Conway on his way. So obviously, with technology coming into the picture, it's helped umpires do their jobs a lot better. And of course, what you call referees in football or soccer, we call umpires in cricket. So I think they're looking for an edge, and from that position, it's clear that it hits the pad first, and clear. It's also, if we take a look at where the line of the delivery is, brilliant delivery that from Zampa. Not very well played at all. But the only problem is, was it bouncing a bit too high? And yes, it was. So the ball tracker over there comes to Conway's rescue. It was just, not just, but effectively going over the wicket. So good delivery to end the over. 90 for 1 after 9. New Zealand sailing along at 10 runs and over. Should potentially end up with a final score of over 200, but we will see. And so just as I was about to say that Zampa has not really been effective in that regard, he's come up and proved me wrong. Almost. So it'll be interesting to see what Finch's strategy is. Does he continue with Zampa, give him some more overs, or does he take him out of the attack for a little bit and bring on someone else? Maybe a part-timer would do a better job. Maybe not better per se, but certainly offer a wicket. And so Stark comes back into the attack. He actually bowled the first over of the innings, and he was picked for 2 4s and a 6. So he's now bowling left arm over the wicket to the right-handed Williamson. And Williamson is able to defend that quite well. Not just defend that, but play that quite well to the mid-on region, where Timothy David picks that up and throws that back in. So for all the talk about how Williamson isn't exactly playing quite quickly, as you said, there is no free hit for a high bouncer, KFC, so thank you for that. And clearly the Aussie fans are not very happy, so So first ball straight to Williamson, played for a single. Now it's left arm fast to the left-handed Conway. Played very well by Conway indeed. That goes past the fielder at extra cover. That should be an easy 2. And so Stark is trying to, make sure he gets his line right, obviously. Being picked apart like that in his first over did not really look well, and he was taken out of the attack. Now that he's come back in, the onus will be on him to make sure he gets his bearings right. So it's Stark to Conway, left arm over to the left-handed batsman. A much straighter delivery, more in line, and Conway plays that straight to mid-on, and Timothy David is there. So Conway's chugging along quite nicely, 40 off 26. We could see the first 50 of this match. Of course, Finch's 42 counts as a 30, which is, I suppose, the equivalent of a one-day international 50. And taking a look at the economy rates, disappointing reading so far for Stark, but he's bowling now. Over the wicket to the left-handed Williamson, who plays that quite expertly to, sort of a nice square drive there. That was at the square region. And it's a single. So the more singles that are being taken, the further the scoreboard can keep ticking. And the lights are starting to come on at the SCG. This is, of course, in the early evening in Sydney right now. So it's certainly going to be interesting to see how well Australia's batsmen do under the lights, and probably with spin coming into play. Stark to Conway. Straight through Conway, but misses the stumps. All happening there. And I think, are they trying to claim that it carried through? There is, of course, a timer to decide if you want to review a decision. And 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And I think Finch has decided he is not going to review that. So we will see the delivery. Now, this is the line that Stark wants to bowl. Beautiful motion there with his arm. And yeah, that is the type of Yorker you want to see. A left-handed Yorker, a left-arm Yorker, jamming the batsman at his foot right there. And Conway had some difficulty playing that. And his final ball is sort of played across him all the way to fine leg for a single. So 10 overs gone. We're at the halfway point. New Zealand are 97 for 1. Plenty of time left to continue doing some damage. So 7 runs off that Stark over. A bit of a mini recovery, if you will. And yeah, things are sort of going on. So it is at the mid-innings point, and I will continue to check the chat. Yeah, so far no one else coming in. But KFC, let me thank you for coming right in. And I do seem to remember that you predicted that New Zealand would win by 27 runs. It's amazing how you could predict that, because it's not really known whether a team will be batting first or fielding first. So you seem to have a bit of a seventh sense there. I'm going to follow Australia's innings, and I will see if your prediction comes true. And of course, if it comes true, well, good for you. So I remember saying that you owed me some KFC delivery. I think you can cancel that. So there's no way you'll be able to deliver that to me, given where you are and where I am right now. And so far, it's been a case of New Zealand starting brilliantly in the 6-over power play, picking apart the Australian seamers, getting to the lines quite well. The seamers just couldn't find their line, with the exception of that Josh Hazlewood Yorker, which cleaned up Finn Allen, who was going at a blistering pace. The Aussie bowlers have not quite been able to get the New Zealand batsmen playing any risky shots. And obviously, with Williamson coming in, it's been a little bit more sedate, but they're still going along well at 10 and over. And of course, if they can continue to consolidate, the batsmen coming in will be able to start hitting if that happens. Yeah. And so I was talking about a free hit. So obviously, if a no ball is bowled, that is if when the bowler balls the ball, he oversteps his crease or his action is improper or whatever, that is deemed to be a free hit, and the umpire will make that signal. So with that free hit, of course, the batsman who plays cannot be out. So even if he hits that ball to a fielder or gets bowled, it will not count as a wicket. But obviously, with a ball over the shoulder, that is not considered a no ball worthy of a free hit. In fact, when I believe it was Stoinis who was bowling, that went over, that was considered a wide. So if you bowl more than if you either bowl more than the one legal delivery over the shoulder, or if it goes too far over the batsman's shoulder, that is considered a no ball, but not worthy of a free hit. So thank you, KFC, for keeping me up to date. And some highlights, of course, of not really highlights, but some reminder of an earlier match from 2007 when the tournament was played in South Africa. Australia creaming Bangladesh by 9 wickets. And of course, they're in different groups this time, so it'll be interesting to see how both those teams play. And yes, showing some shots of the commentary box where invariably some legends will be. So, 11th over now. And it's back with Marcus Stoinis, who is bowling over the wicket to the right-handed Williamson, who gets down on one leg, picks it beautifully, and hits it all the way over cow corner for 6. Very expertly done, and the captain is now getting into his stride. So this is one of the reasons why you need some classical batsmen like Williamson in the team. Got down on his left knee and picked the line beautifully, straight over cow corner, if you will, 75 meters, high, long, and handsome. And Stoinis is not happy. So that jacks up the run rate to back over 10 and over. And yep, still going strong with the Kiwis. That's the 100 up with only 1 wicket down. Second ball from Stoinis. A little bit wide of Williamson's offside. He plays it all the way to mid-off where David Warner is fielding. So it looks as though the Australian bowlers still haven't been able to either get their lines right or find the delivery necessary to really trouble the New Zealand batsmen for the most part. There have been 1 or 2 odd deliveries on either side which have had them in some degree of discomfort, but apart from that, it's been smooth sailing for the Kiwis. Conway now, 42 off 28. Strike rate of 150. Over the wicket from Stoinis, and expertly played to square leg, but Mitchell Starc is there, so another single. So New Zealand won't mind these singles as long as they can keep the scoreboard ticking, consolidate everything in these middle overs, and leave a platform for some of the big hitters to come into the team and see if they can hit. Now, of course, I haven't really been able to follow much in terms of international cricket. So after Williamson, it will be Glenn Phillips and Mark Chapman who could hit very well. And of course, Jimmy Neesham is another powerful hitter, followed by Mitchell Santner. And then we come into the bowlers. So the batsmen so far have done their job. Midway through the over, Williamson on strike. And once again, Williamson, moves across and hits out to the onside, but this time couldn't quite get control of that. And it's not really a pretty sight when you see a batsman trying to, play a ball, but his bottom hand falls off. So not really a pretty sight, but a run nonetheless. And that is the 50 partnership between Devon Conway and Captain Kane Williamson. 50 or 40 balls, a serene strike rate of 125. Excellent consolidation. And we continue. 5th ball of the over the wicket to the left-handed Conway, who plays it well to fine leg where Adam Zampa is there, and they run back for an easy 2. One ball left, 108 for 1, and they're still going quite well. So the middle order, of course, will be quite key if one of these batsmen gets out, and the lack of experience could possibly tell at 4 and 5, but we will see how that transpires. Final ball of the over from Stoinis. Sort of sat up nicely for Conway over there, who played that all the way to, the cover point region there. And it's 109 for 1 after 11. So still at about approximately 10 and over. Less than 10 and over, but they're still going quite strong. And it's still so far New Zealand's innings to really lose right now, but they are still going quite strong. And this is one of the nice things about T20 cricket. It provides a perfect platform in many ways for television to provide some good coverage, and certainly a shorter format provides that advantage now. So Stark back into the attack, left arm over the wicket, and Devon Conway unable to get that away. So this might be the better line, and obviously with Conway back on strike, Finch probably wants his left armer back into the attack. So obviously on the television, they'll be showing highlights of Finn Allen's innings, getting to the line beautifully, but having no answer to Josh Hazlewood's Yorker. But a terrific start, 42 off just 16 balls. That really, set the Kiwis on their way. Stark now, second ball. Attempted Yorker, played very well by Conway to the offside. A sort of a misfield by Warner, but not very costly in that regard. Now, showing some graphics of Finn Allen's career. I am, of course, watching this on the Star Sports network over here in India. I believe it will be shown on Sky Sports back in the UK and on SuperSport in South Africa. Yep, that was a single. So over the wicket to the right-handed Williamson, who is able to play that onto the onside, sort of went across him, if you will. And that takes New Zealand to 111, or Nelson, as it's otherwise called. And I will obviously want to look that number up and find out why it is associated with Nelson. Yes, and so the reason why, fourth ball, Stark right now to Conway, who plays that on the onside. Another single. So Conway moves on to 48 off 34. Still doing really well indeed, consolidating well, and that's 3 runs off the Stark over. So the term Nelson applied to team or individual scores of 11 or multiples of 11 is thought to refer to a wicket of some sort. And I believe, Anyway, let's get back to the action right now. Fifth ball of Stark's over. Sort of falls out of his hand towards Williamson, who plays it on the onside. And batsmen do need to be careful they do not run actually onto the middle of the field. Otherwise, that will certainly provide a bit of an unfair advantage for the bowlers in the second innings. So not very easy for the batsmen at times, but they do have to stay in line. Yeah, I'll probably talk about the meaning of the term Nelson after this over. The final ball is going to be bowled right now by Mitchell Stark, whose economy rate has improved in these last 2 overs of his. And straight at the wicket, but played very well indeed by Conway, who gets a single. That takes him to 49 off 35 balls with a strike rate of 140. And so after 12 overs, it's 114 for 1. And Conway retains the strike and could very well have his 50 in the next over. So the New Zealand cricket team Nelson played their first-class cricket from 1874 to 1891, and in both their first and last first-class innings, they were dismissed for 111. And a legendary former English umpire, David Shepherd, may he rest in peace, he made popular the long-standing practice of raising a leg from the ground whenever there would be the Nelson score in an effort to avoid ill fate. So there was some superstition over there. And it is, of course, thought by superstitions that bad things happen on that score. So, of course, there's a lot of trivia related to that. Now, Zampa back into the attack. Over the wicket to the left-handed Conway, who picks the line very well, hits it long, but does he find the fielder? No, he doesn't. It clears the boundary, only just. And Zampa is not having any kind of joy at all. And what a way to bring up a half-century. Well played, Devon Conway. Started a little bit slowly compared to Finn Allen, but was there to help consolidate the innings after Allen's departure and has played magnificently for his 55 so far. So if he stays, he could possibly have a high score, maybe a century, but that was over the wicket to the left-handed Conway, who hoiked that brilliantly over long on. Once again, walking down the track, and this time playing it onto the onside, and they run for 2. So, once again, Zampa proving to be a little bit ineffective, not quite getting the fizz from the delivery. And obviously, with a leg spinner, especially if you're a right-arm leg spinner, you want to try to get that fizz when you bring the arm down and you bowl. So, Shane Warner's, of course, a past master of that. Zampa not quite getting with it. And completely wide of Conway, who thwacks it away to the square boundary, but there's a fielder there, and Conway gets a single. So he is now on 58 off 38, a strike rate of just under 150, and Williamson also going along nicely at 22 off 21. So 9 runs off these 3 balls. Does Finch keep Zampa in, or does he end his time after this 3rd over? 3 balls to go. A little bit wide of Williamson there, who plays that well to the square boundary as well. And that goes for a single. So Australia New Zealand ticking along very nicely. 124 for 1 off 12.4. And it will be quite important from New Zealand's point of view that these batsmen stay at the crease. And down on one leg, thwacked all the way to the cow corner, if you will. I mean, not cow corner, but certainly over to the leg region for a single. And this isn't looking really good for Zampa right now. He has now conceded 11 off this over, off 5 deliveries. And with an economy rate of about 10 and over, it's not looking so good for him. But New Zealand right now going quite well. Last ball to Kane Williamson, who reverse sweeps that. An appeal for a leg bill before wicket shout, and the umpire has given that. So there is a chance for New Zealand to review that, but does Williamson decide to do that? The time is ticking away, and belatedly, at the very end, Williamson decides to review that, but I'm not too sure if he is able to get it in time. So I think in some ways, Williamson knows that he might be in trouble, but maybe a review can't hurt. Actually, on second, So Williamson has decided to review that. And the thing about a reverse sweep is that when you play the reverse sweep, it's very difficult for you to be out-legged before. That was a good delivery, which was pitched in line. The only question here is, was there an edge on the bat? Obviously, the third umpire will be looking at that using the Ultra Edge technology. The original decision was, of course, out. So clearly that hits the pad first. Certainly looks to be at a brilliant height for the batsman. And New Zealand obviously trying to review that, but it looks as though they could lose this review. And we're going to see from the line tracker whether or not that pitched in line. If it's pitched in line, then Williamson could very well be out. So, yep, well in line, impact in line, hitting the wicket, and the review has been lost. So the New Zealand captain
will be on his way. And that is the second New Zealand wicket to fall. So just as I was wondering about the wisdom of retaining Zampa in the attack, he strikes with his final ball of his third over. So decent innings that from Williamson. A run a ball, 23, 1-4 and a 6. And now we're still in the middle overs. There's 7 overs left. So the next batsman coming in will be under a bit of pressure because Williamson was playing a good foil for Conway there. And I suppose one consolation for New Zealand is that Conway will be at strike in the upcoming over. But the new batsman coming in will be feeling the pressure. So Glenn Phillips will be coming in at number 4. He is at the non-strikers end with Conway on 59 off 39 and still doing very well indeed. Interesting to take a look at Glenn Phillips's stats. Age 25, a right-handed batsman. Currently the 10th best 2020 international batsman according to the ICC ratings. 43 innings, 1,094 runs. He actually has a T20 100 to his name, so looks to be good. Cummins back in now. And Conway gets it through the fielder. Will that go to the boundary? Tim David is running after it. No, he just stops it. And New Zealand should be able to run for 3. And they get that very comfortably indeed. So another replay of the wicket. Brilliant delivery, pitched in line. An attempted reverse sweep, not really paying dividends. Williamson would have been better off trying to, defend that. And that has given Australia some renewed hope, especially with a new batsman coming in. So Phillips is, of course, rated quite highly and has played a good amount of cricket so far. So he will obviously now have a role to play. Conway has now moved to 62 with that 3. And Phillips is now the man on strike. It will be still Pat Cummins to continue into his third over. Over the wicket to the right-handed Phillips, who plays that well enough defensively and keeps his wicket safe. So New Zealand captain not really covering himself in glory without attempted reverse sweep. A new batsman at the crease, but with New Zealand currently going very well at nearly 10 and over, there is still a really good platform for some of the big hitters to come in and try and take the score to above 200. Cummins now. Third ball of the over. And clearly Cummins wants to try to bring that right arm of his from a height and sort of angle that in and give the batsman a bit of trouble. But Phillips has so far played the ball on its merit and has stayed unbeaten so far. So there might be some pressure now for Devon Conway with his partner having been dismissed. He will possibly need to anchor the innings. But of course, Conway is now at 1,003 career runs, having reached that milestone with his previous shot. And now plays that beautifully off Cummins for 4 all the way down to the all the way past extra cover down to the boundary. Beautifully cover driven. Actually, that wasn't Conway. That was the right-handed Phillips who played that. So once again, the attempted angle, but the line being read beautifully by Glenn Phillips. Sort of played past extra cover, and no fielder was going to get that. So off the mark with a boundary. And he sort of hoiks that next ball over onto the leg side, and Josh Hazlewood is there to field it, and they get 2 from that. So brilliant running between the wickets. It's all happening out there, and I only wish in some ways I could show you what's happening, but obviously given YouTube's terms and conditions, that is something I simply cannot do. So still not quite much joy for Australia, but they're still toiling along. And of course, with there's still quite a bit of cricket remaining, so it'll be interesting to see what happens from here. Final ball of the over, played fairly well, and so Australia, are still fighting, but New Zealand are now 134 for 2.
I do apologize for that. Sometimes when you get phone calls, you're stuck in a position you can't really prepare for that. You've got to try and mute it and then take that call. So 6 overs left. Zampa back into the attack for his final over. 9 runs scored off that third over from Pat Cummins. And so Conway is still in, still set on 62 or 40. And that is not the best delivery to bowl to a left-handed batsman, but thankfully it's played all the way to the offside for a single. And an attempt at a possible stolen single, but nothing given there, no dice. So Zampa has a bit of confidence now following that wicket, and he's now conceded 30 off 3.1. Certainly that wicket has helped him a little bit, but for the most part, he hasn't really been able to trouble too many of the batsmen. And you can see the throw from the boundary. Conway obviously wanted to get back on strike, but no dice there. So Zampa to Phillips. And the ball moves away, but Phillips picks the line, gets the single, and gets Conway back on strike. So Zampa still trying. And it will be interesting to see if Zampa can get another wicket, although I would assume that Conway and Phillips might be able to play that out. And that will be called a wide. There is no way you can bowl that sort of a delivery. Zampa to Conway. Pitched on his leg and not really moving back in, so that is called a wide. Anything bowled to the leg side and not really coming back in, that'll be a wide. And an attempted stumping there, but Conway had his foot back in the crease. So what happened was that Conway missed the line, and he tried obviously to play that ball, but he missed the line over there. We'll see the highlights right now. But brilliant work from the New Zealander to get his back foot back beyond the crease and avoid a stumping. So had he not gotten his left foot back beyond the crease, and the wicketkeeper had taken the bails off, he would have been out stumped. But that was some good work there from Devon Conway to get back in. And so Zampa has a little bit of confidence now. And as I say that, Conway hits Zampa down the ground for 4. So it's going at a mile a minute now. You cannot take your eyes off the television screen. And, having to take a look at the television screen and come back here is not too easy. But this time, he gets the line right, down the ground, and not really that much in terms of elevation to make it go for 6, but good enough to get some more runs to add to his total. New Zealand are now 141 for 2 with 2 balls to go. And a somewhat unorthodox hoik there to the offside, but that brings him 2. And Conway is now on to 69 or 44. New Zealand 143 for 2. So after this delivery, there will be 5 overs left. And it will be interesting to see if the New Zealand batsman can increase the tempo and try and hit out more to get to a score of 200 or more. So I think Zampa has bowled well in patches in a few deliveries, but he hasn't really been able to get his line right in terms of trying to really trouble the batsman. And obviously, when you're bowling to a left-handed and right-handed combination, it does mess up your field. It can sometimes mess up your way of thinking. But there have been a couple of deliveries where he's been able to get it in line quite beautifully. And of course, that wicket of Kane Williamson was definitely a brilliant piece of bowling. But after 4 overs, that really was all he could get. 1 off 39, nearly 10 and over, 9.75 to be exact. So we're into the final 5 overs, and we're going to see how many overs each bowler has left. And of course, BBC being BBC, it will take some time to refresh everything. So there's 1 over each remaining for Stark, Cummins, and Stoinis. Hazelwood has 2. So it'll be interesting to see again how Finch rotates his bowlers, or does he bring on a part-timer perhaps? Well, apparently he's gone back to Josh Hazelwood for his 4th over. Conway's on strike on 70. He's played magnificently so far. Over the wicket to the left-handed Conway, who plays that all the way to on the onside where Marcus Stoinis is there. He gets a single. And some highlights, of course, from Devon Conway's innings. A somewhat sedate start in comparison to Finn Allen, but consolidated beautifully, showing his experience, and he has played magnificently for his innings so far. Glenn Phillips now. And so obviously every time, a single is taken, the field has to be reset, which is a bit of an inconvenience, but I'm sure they wouldn't mind. And that was, of course, Hazelwood's 2nd ball over the batsman, and Phillips couldn't quite get to it, but a rather harmless dot ball that. Not really a bouncer, that sort of came up to Phillips's shoulder. Obviously, you don't want it to go too far above the shoulder. And Phillips is also going to be keeping wicket. And in terms of 2020 internationals, he does, in fact, have a T20 international century, so he can certainly hit. And it was his first century in 2020 international cricket, which was scored against the West Indies in 2020. So clearly, I wonder what's happening there now. Looks as though there could be a wicket. I think Australia are reviewing that. So delivery from Hazelwood. Yeah, that review is going to be lost because I believe they were appealing for an edge, but you could clearly see from my angle on the television that, there was no contact between bat and ball. I believe Ultra Edge should confirm that. And yes, they do. No edge over there. So once again, a poor review decision, this time from Australia. There was no chance of that happening. And so Hazelwood continues. So far, Finch's decision to bat a field first in this innings has not really been vindicated, and his review decisions have been found wanting. But 3rd ball now, and whacked back over the bowler by Glenn Phillips for 4. So clearly Phillips is a rather handy batsman to come in. And you take a look at how many T20 internationals he's played, 49. So this is, of course, his 50th T20 international. And a good day to have that landmark, of course. And good sort of well-played shot there, back over the bowler. And that eases some pressure on him somewhat. So that takes New Zealand to 149, still in the 16th over. And it'll be interesting to see after Phillips who comes in. Will it be Chapman? Will it be Neesham? But Hazelwood now with the 4th ball. Attempted Yorker to the leg side. Easily played well enough by Phillips all the way to Aaron Finch, who is standing at mid-on. And still some shots of the beautifully iconic Sydney Cricket Ground, including the iconic Clock Pavilion. Nighttime now in Sydney. I mean, not nighttime, but certainly evening, and the sky has gone dark. And there are very few sights to behold than playing one-day cricket or limited overs cricket in the dark. Hazelwood to Conway, who plays that to the offside for a single. And so Conway is now on 72, still at an impressive strike rate of over 150. Phillips obviously seeing his role as more of a supporting character. But now with 4 overs or so to go, I believe Finch will probably give 1 over each to his seamers. So he's still eager to try to keep that run rate a little bit under 10 and prevent New Zealand from getting a threatening total. Hazelwood with that ball that should be called a wide, and it is. So clearly the ball almost slipping out of his hand. And you will see when you watch on the television that there will be a couple of lines either side of the wicket, which will be some distance away. Those lines will be the limits within which a legal delivery can be bowled. If the ball is effectively bowled on those lines or beyond or outside those lines, that is considered a wide. And you could see that ball from Hazelwood there was on the line, so it counts as a wide. Final ball with the over. Bit more straight. Hoyt high in the air, shouts of catch it, and Hazelwood takes that. So the second wicket for Josh Hazelwood, and please. Regrettably, I do have to run a very quick errand, but I will be back as quickly as possible. For what it's worth now, there is a little bit of looks like to be a bit of a break, so I will probably zip back quickly, but whatever I've missed, I will come back and cover that for you. But if you can just bear with me, I will be back. Okay, my apologies, people. Yeah, so in the bedlam, I actually missed a wicket, and I really, or did I miss a wicket? Well, I know that well, apparently Jimmy Neesham is at the crease right now instead of Glenn Phillips, so I wonder how Phillips got himself out.
Let's take a look and see what's happened over there. And at the moment now we're into the 17th over bowled by Marcus Stoinis, who has conceded 7 off this over so far. He was hit for 4 at the beginning. And New Zealand is still on track to get to 198. So if they want to get to 200, they will have to start picking up the pace a bit. Conway still there, 78 off 50. And that ball was well played all the way to fine leg for a single. So I'm going to take a look and see what happened to Glenn Phillips and how he got out, because this is one of the reasons why I absolutely hate, being called for an emergency, because you never know what happens. And we're going to see how Glenn Phillips got out. Last ball of the over, though. Conway on 78. And plays that very well to the extra cover region. And end of the 17th over, New Zealand are now 161 for 3. So, right. So apparently the review did work. Yeah, I just saw that. I do apologize. Sometimes, when you have to rush and do things, you forget what happened. And I remember covering that wicket for you. So it was hoiked high in the air by Phillips and caught well by Hazelwood. And Hazelwood got his second wicket of the innings. Glenn Phillips out for 12 with 2 fours off 10 balls. And that brought Jimmy Neesham into the picture. But Conway still going strong. And there will still be some hope for a big total. Pat Cummins now with his final over. 31 off 3 for him. Over the wicket to the left-handed Conway, who slaps that all the way to the mid-wicket boundary where it's fielded. And he now moves on to 80. So there is still a chance that Conway could register a T20 century. And of course, Jimmy Neesham has come into the picture. Let's take a look at Jimmy Neesham's career stats. Obviously, the more experienced Neesham has come in. And credit to Australia for maintaining a good over rate so far. They've certainly not wasted time. And that is hoiked all the way over long on by Jimmy Neesham, also a left-handed batsman. So there are 2 lefties at the crease. And that second delivery there from Pat Cummins being given the treatment. Obviously short, went straight into the batsman's line of vision, 89 meters, long and absolutely luscious, and eventually caught in the crowd, or we will see what happens. But clearly you could see Cummins got the line wrong and wasn't able to get it in target. Third delivery now, that will be a wide. So you can see in one of the ironies of cricket, even if a batsman bowler bowls a wide, a batsman can definitely be out off a wide if it is nicked to a fielder. But still some highlights off that of that 6. Hit magnificently. And Australia's test, a new one-day international captain, will have to do a lot of thinking here. And that's also hit over the top, but it goes straight to a fielder, Mitchell Stark, who throws it back. So Neesham also getting into the attack and trying to provide some support for Devon Conway. And New Zealand is still puttering along, if you will. 170 for 3 off 17 and a half overs. So, yep, that was pounded over mid-wicket, that for 6. Beautifully swung over. So Cummins has now conceded 40 off 3.3. The seamers have been picked apart with their line and length today, so it's not been easy at all. Round the wicket now, and he bowls it wide. So Cummins obviously wanted to have a different angle, so he shifted to bowling round the wicket with the wicket on his left, but he completely didn't have control of that, and he conceded a wide. So we have 2 wides, 2 singles, and a 6, taking the total to 10 off the overs so far, and you can see that under the lights, the Australian bowlers are starting to tire. Sort of battered into the ground, if you will, by Devon Conway, who moves to 81 off 53. He has played magnificently. And it might be a bit of a challenge for him to get to a T20 100, but I wouldn't put it past him. I think New Zealand's first priority, though, will be to make sure that they hit out in these last 3 overs. So Williamson putting his feet up, obviously disappointed with himself for getting out the way he did, but still quite satisfied now with the way his team have played. And it's been a struggle for Australia with the ball and in the field. I think Finch might look back on his decision and say, you know what, I got this wrong. But of course, hindsight is 2020, and of course, they do have a very explosive opening partnership themselves. 5th ball of the over. It sort of flew out of Cummins' hand and slapped all the way down to long on for a single, and they actually run for 2, so brilliant running between the wickets there. Once again, when it comes to New Zealand and Australia and some of these top one-day teams, the running between the wickets is always going to be very, very important because you can never take anything for granted. Turned beautifully, got back in time, and yeah, it's split-second thinking, it really is. Final ball of the over. And it's hoiked high in the air by Neesham. Fielder under it. No, there is no fielder under it. Safely out of harm's reach, and they run for another 2. So 176 for 3 with 2 overs to go. Can New Zealand get to a 200? Can Devon Conway convert his 80 to 100? It's all happening out there at the SCG, and I am happy to be bringing it to you on behalf of the Coach's Corner. Let me now check the chat. Any updates on the chat? Okay, so apparently KFC considers T20 to be on the cards. I think you might have to revise that, mate. It looks as though Australia are determined to stifle New Zealand to to a rate of about 10 and over. And obviously, when it comes to the overs, even if they've struggled to take wickets, they haven't necessarily been dominated too far. Sixes and boundaries have been punctuated by a few dot balls. So, yeah, it is good that Hanno's doing one more spot. So I will give you my predictions for the league, for the Premier League games in a minute, Hanno. And Ola's in the chat now. Big up to you, Ola. Thanks for joining in, brother. And I hope you're enjoying this watch along. Stark now over the wicket to left-handed Conway. Actually, both batsmen are left-handed, and Conway has just played that for a single. That takes him to 82 off 54, bringing Neesham on strike. So now with 2 left-handers at the crease, Stark has, in theory, an easier job. He does definitely need to get his line right and make sure that he's able to get it coming into the left-handed batsman. He might need to sort of cramp them for room. And obviously, it looks to be an attacking offside field, so Stark will have to get his delivery spot on. And it will be a struggle for Neesham and Conway perhaps to try to work it onto the onside. We will see how that works. 2nd ball of the over. Over the wicket. Ooh, excellent Yorker length delivery, but Neesham survives that, and there is a single. And yep, that is credited to Jimmy Neesham, who got bat on that. So yeah, you can see when you have a left armer bowling that sort of Yorker, it's always an advantage, but Neesham was able to get his bat to that and avoid getting bowled. And of course, when it comes to Yorker length deliveries from left arm bowlers, few do it better than the great Wasim Akram from Pakistan. So it looks as though Australia have fallen an over behind when it comes to the over rate, so that will count against them. And hoiked all the way over. There's a fielder under it, but he doesn't get it. So that went all the way to the cow corner boundary there. But Stoinis just wasn't able to get to that. And that would have been a very big wicket because that was actually Devon Conway who hit that. Another good delivery from Stark there. Conway lost control of that. That went all the way high. And was Stoinis in a position to catch that? No, it just bounced in front of him. So excellent work from Stoinis to get there thereabouts, but maybe he should have gotten around the ball a little bit. It's all happening. It's all happening. 180 for 3. Fourth delivery. Not quite at the wicket, but played well for a single by Conway to take him to 85 of 56. So looks as though there might not be a century for Conway today, but he has played magnificently. And as I've said, the priority will be for New Zealand to get as high a total as possible. Anything less than 200, given the start they had, will be disappointing. And of course, getting only 3 wickets is not something that Australia will want to look back on fondly, but I think they can be quite happy with how they've comparatively stifled New Zealand so far. Fifth ball of the over. And that is hoiked all the way to long on for what looks like another single. Sent back well by Devon Conway. So Conway is about to play the last ball of that over. And after this over, there will be 1 over left. 85 or 56 for the opening batsman. What a fine innings it's been. Just 6 off this over from Stark so far, his final over. Been good stuff from him. And played brilliantly by Conway all the way to the long off boundary. That takes him to 89 off 57. So 10 off that over. And New Zealand are nicely going along. So at the moment, it is 186 for 3 off 19 overs. 14 runs needed to get to 200. And Conway will also need another 11 runs to get his century. So will it happen? 15th boundary of the match. And obviously, sixes have been at a bit of a premium. So it'll be interesting to see in this final over how well they do. 89 off 57 for Devon Conway. Neesham has played an admirable supporting role so far with 15 off 8. So I'm sure New Zealand will not want to necessarily lose another wicket over here because the next batsman coming in will be under pressure. It will be Josh Hazlewood to bowl this final over of the innings. And it will be, once again, right arm over to the left-hander. Bowled it across the batsman well, so you couldn't really get onto that. And so 5 balls left. So dot balls are gold right now in these in this final over. Hazlewood obviously has recovered well. His Yorker length delivery to get rid of Finn Allen was an absolute peach of a delivery. And then, of course, we had the wicket of Glenn Phillips, where he hoiked it up in the air and he caught it off his own bowling. Second ball. And they should get a couple over here. So that's 2 for Jimmy Neesham. And that takes them to 188. So they will either need to hit 3 4s or 2 6s to get to that promised land of 200. 180 is a decent score under the circumstances, but I think it's fair to say that they will be disappointed not to get 200 given the start they had. But batting on the lights will not be easy. And certainly with Trent Boult and Tim Southee in their attack, New Zealand do hold 2 aces, not to mention the fact that they do have some good spinners. Hazlewood now. And that is beautifully hit by Neesham. Well, didn't really get the distance or the elevation required, but safe enough. The fielder wasn't going to get there. So that brings Conway on strike. 89 off 57. It looks as though he might not get to his T20 century, but he can be proud of the way he's played. He should have a score of 90 and above. Brilliant under the circumstances. 3 runs off this over so far. This has been very, very good death bowling from the Australians, who have recovered in some respects. But Conway now, facing Hazlewood. And an attempt at a reverse sort of hoik over there, which goes off his bat, high up the slip cordon. That takes him all the way to 92. They run for 3. So it looks as though Conway won't get his 100. Very unselfish batting over there. But with 2 4s or maybe a 6 and a 2, they could very well get to the 200. So obviously hoping to try and play a sort of a scoop-like delivery where the bat is played like this and it helps the ball go over. Sort of got off the edge of the bat, which made it look very awkward indeed. So magnificent innings of 92 from 58. No century for him, but he has anchored the innings magnificently. Hazelwood now with 2 balls to go. Thwacked all the way down to long on for a single. Will that bring Conway back on strike? No, they run for 2, and an attempted run out at the wicketkeeper's end doesn't materialize. So that takes Neesham to 20. So 194 for 3. 1 ball left. A 6 will take them to 200. Will they get it? All happening, all happening. And a belated decision there to run for 2, and it has to be said that Neesham was very, very lucky, because if Matthew Wade had caught that and hit the stumps, had the throw been better, he would have been gone. Last ball. And that goes for 6. Great way to end it. You cannot script it better. You cannot script it better. So New Zealand end their innings at a perfect 200 for 3. Not quite the 220 that you would hope for KFC, but still a good score nonetheless. And that was the 8th 6 of the innings. Obviously bowling across Neesham there. Got to the line of the ball beautifully and thwacked all the way over mid-wicket. And that 6 brings up the 200, and you can see the approval from the New Zealand bench. And Hazelwood, for all of his endeavour, for all of the hard work he did, to have his final ball hit for 6 is not a nice feeling. So, with New Zealand having crossed the 200 barrier, Australia need 201 runs to win at the rate of 10.5 runs and over. And I suppose in some respects it can be said that given the start that New Zealand had, it was very, very it was disappointing in some respects that they couldn't get it to anywhere much higher than 200. But, obviously I know KFC, you were hoping for 220. And sadly, no Conway century, I'm afraid, mate. But, yeah, big up to everyone who has joined and kept me company, and love to see. Of course, the last time, an interesting stat here from KFC, the last time Conway batted against Australia, he stayed 99 not out. So I don't know which is worse, being 92 not out or 99 not out. I suppose 99 not out might be worse. But once again, Devon Conway anchoring the innings magnificently with a terrific score of 92. Deserved a century, but I don't think he will be too nonplussed about that. With New Zealand getting to 200, that will be satisfaction enough for him. And so the onus will now be on Australia's batsmen to try and take them further. Of course, in captain Aaron Finch and David Warner, they do have 2 fine opening batsmen in good form. But of course, with Boult and Southey being the bowlers they are, it will not be easy for them. And there will be some other players like Ish Sodhi and Lockie Ferguson who will lend some variety into the attack. Possibly a little off spin from Williamson to come in if need be. But on the whole, it's been a good day's work for the New Zealand batsmen. And as for the bowlers, well, Hazelwood got 2 wickets, but he conceded 41. Cummins was very expensive in the final analysis, 46 off 4. Stark didn't have the best of starts, but recovered well. Stoinis also chipping in with 4 overs, not very threatening. Zampa also had a wicket, but was for the most part picked apart by the New Zealand batsmen. So, this is one of the nicest things about T20 cricket, in that, as I've said, it's extremely truncated. It doesn't last for too long. I mean, can you imagine the work I would have to do to get to make sure that I would sit through an entire 50-over match or a 20 or a whole 5 days worth of cricket? Boy, that would be hard. But yeah, so obviously an interesting, really, I can't say interesting, because it's been absolutely electric. A terrific start to the ICC 2020 World Cup. And of course, Afghanistan will be playing England later on today. I will regrettably not be covering that, but next time we do cover the World Cup, I will, of course, give you some updates and analysis of that match. And yeah, so England do have an easy start again against Afghanistan, but they won't have it easy against this New Zealand batting lineup. And obviously, Australia will also give them a good run for their money, speaking from an English fan's perspective. So, at the moment, I'm out of breath. I might need a drink. I might need a snack. But it's been worth it. Just sitting over here and covering this game so far has been more than worth it. And I think, obviously, Australia will feel a little bit satisfied with how they've recovered, but that blistering start from New Zealand will have hampered them, and they will have a lot of work to do coming up against Bolt, Southey and company. And Williamson will have a key role to play in terms of being able to organize his field and get them performing well for him. And it's going to be really interesting to see how well they do. So I will be here making sure that I cover it for you. And yeah. So I've just switched off the television for a minute. I want to get something to drink and a snack, and I'll be back in 10 seconds. Ooh. I really need this. And of course, this will give me some time to work on my predictions for the upcoming Premier League games this weekend. Of course, there will be 4 games played today, and I will get back to that as soon as possible. But of course, if you want some good coverage of football, do also check out this channel. We do watch-alongs for Premier League games. We do Premier League previews and reviews. And so really interesting game taking place in about half an hour is Nottingham Forest against Liverpool. So I'm going to have to come up with my prediction for that, but it should be a fairly easy prediction. I think Forest have been, dreadful this season, quite frankly, and Liverpool are finding form at the right time. They are getting back into certainly the swing of things following that fine win over Manchester City. So my prediction for that should definitely be a very easy 3-0 win for Liverpool. And of course, there'll be 2 more games taking place at 3 o'clock UK time. Everton will be at home against Crystal Palace, and Manchester City will be taking on Brighton. So thankfully, with that out of the way, I can concentrate on the other 2 games. Obviously, Everton look to be recovering fairly well. A disappointing loss, of course, against Manchester United. Another one against Newcastle has sort of stalled their progress, but they're 15th now and they should rise up the table. But Palace now, who were in serious trouble at the time, have now gone back up to 11th in the table. And I think it's fair to say that Patrick Vieira's side should have a little bit too much for Everton. So I will be going for Palace to win this 2-1. And of course, this isn't in any way a criticism of Lampard, who has done really well with Liverpool. And certainly he's taken them from near certainties to getting relegated to a team that can certainly fight their way back in and stay there. But Everton might still struggle, of course, this Premier League campaign. Manchester City against Brighton at the Etihad. There's really no
way you can look beyond a heavy City win, but Brighton will obviously want to give them a good run for their money. I'm going to stick my neck out and go for a 3-1 win because I do not believe that City will keep a clean sheet. Brighton are capable of scoring some good goals, and if they get behind the City defence, they can certainly cause some problems. And of course, the big game today will be Chelsea against Manchester United at Stamford Bridge. Two teams, of course, with their own ambitions for challenging for either the title or top four. I think United have recovered very well, but Chelsea are also finding momentum at the right time. This should be a tight game. I don't see Eric Ten Hag's team getting a result at Stamford Bridge. Cannot look beyond the 2-1 result for Chelsea. And obviously, once they get there, if Potter has the right combination, certainly I don't think he'll make the mistake of giving Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang only 10 minutes to make an impact. So 2-1 to Chelsea is my prediction for that game. And of course, there will be 5 games tomorrow and 1 game on a Monday. And now we are back. Australia are now about to start their innings with the left-handed Aaron Finch. Actually, Aaron Finch is... apparently they're starting right now with David Warner, who will be at the crease, and Aaron Finch will be accompanying him. Back now at the Sydney Cricket Ground, of course. David Warner, very experienced. The 31st ranked batsman in ICC T20 international cricket today, but still very experienced. And of course, the right-handed Aaron Finch, the captain, 35 years old, currently the 7th best batsman in the world today. So a lot will be riding on his shoulders. And we will be opening the innings with the very pacey, lightning quick, left arm seam bowler Trent Boult. Over the wicket to the left-handed Warner, who dabs that to the onside. Very well fielded indeed. And the power play has begun. Finn Allen there, who looks to be left-handed, given the way he throws, but bats right-handed. Excellent work there at the gully region, denying Warner the single to start proceedings. Age 33, left arm fast medium, top quality bowler. And do we have an edge? No. Brilliant delivery. Sort of moved right off the seam across the left-handed batsman who couldn't get onto it. There was no edge there. And so Boult is causing problems. Yeah, that is a perfect away swinger of a delivery, and there was no way that David Warner could play that. Warner is, of course, naturally right-handed, but bats left-handed, and has been known to play some right-handed switch hits where, you could change your grip from being a left-hander to a right-hander or vice versa, and you play it as you would in that case. But 2 dot balls now for Trent Boult. Good start from him, keeping things tight. And once again, Warner plays that straight to Mitchell Santner, another lefty who throws it back to the wicketkeeper. So this is going to be interesting right now because obviously with Boult starting well, this could be, trouble for Australia if they cannot get any runs on the board. And it's all happening, of course, out there. You got a nice quick, nippy left-arm seamer bowling to a left-handed batsman, cramping him for room and not really giving him that much. But we will see how Warner plays these next 3 balls. Well, he doesn't play that one all too well, but he does get a fortunate edge, which goes past the slip fielder all the way to the 3rd man boundary. So Warner off the mark in very fortuitous circumstances, and that is not something that necessarily makes Boult very happy, notwithstanding the wry smile on his face. Pitched on middle, going towards off, edge over there, but just away from the slip fielder. It wouldn't have carried through to him, so there wouldn't have been a wicket, and that was Jimmy Neesham there, just went past him. And you can see how frustrating that is. Some gamesmanship there from Warner, who moves away from the wicket. And of course, if the ball cannot be bowled due to circumstances, it is called a dead ball.
Adrian Holdstock, the other umpire, who's standing in his 45th T20 international today in the company of Mr. Tharmasena. Fifth ball of the over. Play to the onside, and Warner gets a single, bringing Captain Finch on strike for the final ball of the over. So, great start from Trent Boult. Troubled Warner, bowled beautifully, and just couldn't get the wicket he wanted. Maybe an extra slip fielder would have done a world of good. But obviously, we're still in the power play, so obviously the fielders have to be inside the internal circle. They cannot be outside. And so Tharmasena is, of course, standing in his 39th T20 international, but he has been an ICC umpire for quite a long time. So, Captain Aaron Finch to face the last ball of the over. And let's it go past him. No edge. Australia 5 for no wicket after an over. Half the required run rate, less than half technically, but no wickets. And I suppose no wickets is like no news being good news. So, yeah. So, as I predicted, Boult having a say on proceedings. And of course, he was in the headlines not too long ago for opting to be released from his New Zealand contract and only play on an ad hoc basis for the purpose of spending time with his family. He will, of course, be a huge loss to New Zealand cricket, who have certainly in these last 10 odd years have produced some magnificent fast bowlers like Trent Boult, obviously Tim Southey being another one. And of course, I do remember the likes of Shane Bond. Richard Hadley, who was, of course, the first New Zealand bowler to take 400 wickets in Test cricket, also an all-rounder, well before my time. Never got to see him bowl. Obviously, was a captain's dream, if you will. And now it is Tim Southey, right arm medium fast, very experienced, the 21st best bowler in international T20 cricket. And he will be bowling over the wicket to the left-handed David Warner. And beautifully bowled. Beaten all ends up. Just the sort of start that New Zealand wanted. And Warner was completely castled there. So we're going to see some highlights of that delivery, but that was a beautifully straight delivery bowled from the right-hander, going straight into him. And, well, there was a bit of good fortune there because Warner got a bat to it. It went off his thigh, went all the way up, went on his bat all the way to the stumps. So a very fortuitous start, but a good start nonetheless. New Zealand are not going to look a gift horse in its mouth. Australia now 5 for 1 and in a bit of a spot of bother. So no big opening partnership there. And we will see who the next person is coming in. It will be Mitchell Marsh, the twin brother of Sean Marsh, who himself, like his brother, are sons of former Australia international Geoff Marsh. And of course, their uncle was the legendary Rodney Marsh, former Australia wicketkeeper, 96 Tests for Australia, who passed away not too long ago on the same day as the late, great Shane Warne. May they both rest in peace. Valet Rodney Marsh, Valet Shane Warne. So Mitchell Marsh is coming in at number 3, as expected. And he comes in with his team in a big spot of bother. So 40 innings, 980 runs, 6 50s, 9 scores of over 30 with a best of 77. He will have a role to play. Southey, who bowls his second ball straight at him. It's a right-handed Mitchell Marsh who comes in. So there are 2 right-handers at the crease. And yeah, looking at that again, Warner will be absolutely livid with himself. That is not the way he imagined going out. Onto his thigh, onto his bat, onto the wicket. I think it's fair to say I gave Southey a bit too much credit, but Southey does deserve a bit of credit for, cramping Warner for room there. And that third ball is, of course, dabbed to the offside just for a single. So Mitchell Marsh is off the mark. And now the pressure will be on Aaron Finch. He made the big call after winning the toss to field first, saw New Zealand racking up an even 200, and now it looks as though he will have to play a captain's innings here. So anyone else in the chat, please come in. Please say what you want to say. Let the chips fall where they may. Let's be having you. I want to hear from you. KFC, if you're still here, please say what you want to say. Still in the power play. 6 for 1. Southie continuing. Oh, yeah. So not quite a shout for LBW there, because after bouncing, that looked to possibly be going down leg. So some sensible reactions there from the bowlers who thought, from the bowler and the fielders who would have thought they had a shout for an LBW, but decided against it. Bowled beautifully, hits Finch on the pad, but clearly going down leg and not quite in line with the stumps. I mean, it was pitched on line well enough, but it was going down leg. So some terrific bowling first up from Bolton Southey. And Finch going down the track, trying to get to the line of it, not quite getting it, only succeeding in seeing that ball through to his counterpart, Kane Williamson. All happening, all happening, all happening. And we see now that, yep, just taking a look right now at the field placement right there, how the field has been set up. So certainly an attacking offside field. And this ball is now played to leg for a single to end the over, and it's 7 for 1 for Australia. So terrific over first up, 1 run off the over, wicket first ball, and Australia are not very happy at the moment. It is choppy waters right now for them. And so a lot will depend on how Finch and Mitchell Marsh can play. They will need to consolidate. Now, of course, the only problem is each bowler in a 2020 innings will get a maximum of 4 overs. So in the Australian innings, every bowler who bowled had the maximum of 4 overs, and that was it. Of course, you can bowl 3 or 2, and some other bowlers can come in. And so, and the start of the third over, and this is exactly what Australia wanted. So it was Bolt and sort of trying to get into the captain, the right-handed captain over there, who gets to the line of the ball very well indeed. A nice shimmy down the track, short shimmy, and that is hammered over. And at 102 meters, that is high, that is long, and that is handsome. Anyone caught that? No. Always a fun sight to see if a ball hit for 6 gets caught in the crowd. So that will definitely settle a few nerves. Good stuff from the captain. He will need to hoik a few more of those, perhaps. And definitely a case of settling the nerves. So once again, thank you all for joining in, and I hope that the commentary has been good so far, if you're watching it. Second ball, back across the captain, hit down the ground. Does that go to the boundary? Yes, it does. So what a difference 2 balls makes. Or 2 balls make, rather. Sorry for the grammatical incorrectness there. But obviously, Bolt trying a little bit too hard, bowling a little bit straighter, but a bit too full. And Finch able to, get to the line of that, hit down the ground for 4, and nobody stopping that. So, pressure relieved in a very big way, and it's the captain who's coming to the rescue. So, third ball, bowled to Finch, who just dabs that to the offside. And this is going to be a very big battle. It'll be Bolt and Southey against Finch and Marsh. Finch will obviously have a very big role to play, and he will be a very big wicket if New Zealand can get him out. Williamson so far happy with his bowler's work. If Southey in the field, who will have a role to play, I'm sure. Bolt to Finch now. Again, plays that to the mid-wicket fielder, Glenn Phillips. So a 6 and a 4 and 2 dot balls. It's all happening out there at the SCG. And Bolt clearly wants to wrest back some control. He did not like being hit for 6 or 4. He certainly did not like being edged for 4 by Dave Warner. You can see how much he enjoys his bowling and how much he wants a wicket. And will he get one? No, he won't. That is played all the way past the slip cordon through to third man. Does it go to the boundary? No, it is fielded. But will they run back for 3? I think they settle for 2. So, once again, it is all happening out there, in the words of the legendary Bill Lawry. Terrific fielding at the boundary, preventing that from going over. And of course, footwork is quite important, because you cannot have your foot touching the boundary when the hand is on the ball. Otherwise, that is considered a boundary. So, last ball of this over from Trent Bolt. He's conceded 12 so far. And once again, well played, but straight to the fielder. And Australia are now belatedly up and running. 19 for 1 off 3. So it's been a difficult first 2 overs, but that third over has given them some cheer, 12 off it. And obviously Finch feels as though he owes the side a big innings, given the fact that he got his decision a little bit wrong. The start that New Zealand had early on today was absolutely magnificent. So batting under the lights will not be very easy. And certainly with Boult and Southey in the attack, it'll be all the more difficult. But I think Williamson will have to be wary of, bowling out Boult and Southey a bit too soon, especially if the other bowlers might not be as heralded. For now, though, it is... and there is a bowling change, in fact. It will be Mitchell Santner coming into the attack. So Southey has been rested, and Southey... And in fact, it will be some left-arm spin from Mitchell Santner. 80 wickets from 64 games, a best of 4 for 11, an economy rate of 8 and over. So clearly Williamson wants to try and, reduce the strike rate, and bringing a left-arm spinner on against a left-handed batsman might perhaps be a way to do that. Round the wicket to the right-handed Mitchell Marsh. Plays that fairly well. And of course, New Zealand have been pioneers in bringing spin bowlers on very early in the innings, because in the 1992 World Cup, which was hosted by New Zealand and Australia, I'll get back to that. So good delivery to start off from Santner. And Marsh gets down on one knee and plays that brilliantly to the square leg boundary. So not the best delivery there. But in that 1992 World Cup, I believe it was Martin Crowe who, as captain, wanted to make sure that Mark Greatbatch and another batsman would open the innings well and start hitting out in the early overs. And of course, when he bowled, he would begin his bowling with the off spin of Deepak Patel, hoping to, stop the batsman from playing too aggressively too soon with that tight line. Now, of course, Santner is a left-arm spinner, and left-arm spinners are known for being quite aggressive with, the arm ball and the loop that they provide. Certainly, with the arm coming down, that wicked arm ball causes them a lot of problems. And if they can get that attacking line, it works all the better. But so far, Santner has had 2 dot balls and a boundary in between. So hasn't exactly been able to control Mitchell Marsh as of yet, but still 3 balls to go. And that is quite simply not a delivery you want to bowl. Chipped, or hoiked rather, beautifully over the extra cover boundary for 6. And that was short and wide, and that hit me written all over it, and that was hit for 97 meters. So I do not believe that Santner will continue in the attack for long. Yeah, that is not the delivery you want to bowl as a left-arm spinner. You definitely want to keep a tighter line. And that is, of course, the 10th 6 of the match, the second in Australia's innings. So after a difficult start, they seem to be recovering fairly well. What do you do now, Mitchell? So the arm ball is sort of dabbed all the way to the leg side for a single. Takes Australia to 30 for 1. And clearly Santner has struggled, so the onus will be on Williamson. Do you keep Santner on? I personally wouldn't bring him back until sometime in the middle overs. And clearly, it looks as though Santner wasn't able to get the ball out of his hand quite fluidly, so he has struggled this over. Last ball of the over to Aaron Finch, who places that beautifully, and a little too beautifully, it finds the fielder. So just as I was giving Santner a hard time, he recovers with a wicket at the end, and what a wicket it is. The Australian captain, Aaron Finch, who blasted Trent Boult for 12 runs off the previous over, holds out, 2 extra cover. The fielder standing over there takes it quite well, and it is none other than Captain Kane. So, a disastrous game for Aaron Finch. A poor decision to field first, and now out for 13 off 11. A 4 and a 6, good enough start, but not quite capitalizing it. And Australia are now in a big spot of bother at 29. Not 29 for 1. I mean, obviously they've scored a bit more than that. I will have to. I can't trust BBC for anything, really. Yes, again, if you're watching along and in my company, thank you very much indeed, and I will get back to your chats ASAP. And Glenn Maxwell is in at 4, so very explosive batsman there. Yep, 30 for 2. End of that over. Doesn't get the elevation, flies it outside off, trying to loft over the covers, but only succeeds in sending it straight to Williamson extra cover. But Maxwell will be key. 3 20-20 hundreds, 2,041 runs in international T20 cricket. So Maxwell will be key. The Aussies will need him to get set and stay the distance. But a little bit of spin on that. Not very much though, but Finch wasn't able to get any kind of an elevation. Also short, but it finds the extra cover fielder. And you can see how much that meant to Mitchell Santner. Southey back into the attack. And that is hoiked by Mitchell Marsh all the way over fine leg for a boundary. So the more boundaries they can get, the lesser the pressure on them. But still in the power play, and Australia haven't really been able to capitalize so far. An attempted slower ball from Southey, which went across Mitchell Marsh, and he was able to swing his bat, hoik it all the way over fine leg, and no fielder was going to stop that going for a boundary. And so in the power play, it's always going to be important how the players play, because, that is a time with the field all in the circle. The batsmen have to take advantage of that. So, we take a look at the New Zealand innings. Obviously, we will see an over-by-over play, but at the end of the 4th over, they were 56 for no loss, and then obviously Finn Allen was castled by Josh Hazlewood in the first ball of the 5th over. So Australia have a lot of work to do to try and take better advantage of it. And a brilliant delivery from Tim Southey, appealing for an LBW, but no dice there from the umpire. And I cannot see them opting to review that. I think it's fair to say that the reviews have got to be used a bit more judiciously. I really cannot see Kane Williamson opting to review that. Still talking and thinking about it. 3, 2, 1, and he opts against it. And probably with good reason once we see the delivery being replayed. So I think the delivery, of course, was definitely pitched outside off, and it hit Marsh on his thigh pad, but probably was going a little bit high over the wickets, so they decided to not use the review. So Marsh survives. And that is hoiked in the air. Does it have the distance? Nope. It's straight to the fielder. And Australia have lost their 3rd wicket. Mitchell Marsh is now gone. Had the elevation, didn't have the distance, tried to hoik Southey over, and now Southey gets his man. So that's 2 wickets for Tim Southey, and New Zealand are riding high, and Australia are in big trouble. And I think Marsh knew that when he got it, he didn't quite get the elevation he wanted. Straight to the fielder at long on, who holds onto it quite well. And we will see who that fielder is. Pardon me. That is, of course, Jimmy Neesham who caught that. So 2 4s and a 6 in Marsh's 16, but now out, and Australia are in really big trouble at 34 for 3 with 1 ball to go. So Southey has done some brilliant damage so far. 6 runs so far off 11 deliveries, 2 wickets. And of course, the wicket of Warner was certainly a very fortuitous one, but a wicket nonetheless. So no talk of certainly no talk of New Zealand looking a gift horse in its mouth, as I've said earlier. I think we might want to see the what Cricinfo says about the first wicket. Yeah, that is unlucky. Short of a good leg around the length stump. Warner looked to pull that, but gets hit on the thigh pad, hits the back of the bat, hits the stumps, and of course New Zealand wouldn't mind. And now we have Marcus Stoinis in the team with a personal best of 78, 677 runs in 38 innings. So probably not very good returns under the circumstances. And of course, he now comes in with both batsmen, Maxwell and Stoinis, now having not played a ball. So that's Stoinis' first ball, deals with it well enough. And that's the end of Southey's second over, 2 for 6. And so coming back to Boult and Southey, Williamson might be well advised to keep Southey and Boult for later on the innings. A really good innovative call would be to try to get 1 over out of them in the middle overs to see if they can prevent any kind of an Australian attack. And of course, Santner came in and was hit for a 6 and a 4, but then got his revenge with Aaron Finch holding out to extra cover. But it is not looking good for Australia at all, folks. Not looking good at all. Okay. Yeah, Hisham's in the chat. Big up to you, brother. Hope you're well. And we've got Ryan in. Ryan, nice to see you, mate. I know that living in Huddersfield, you might be far from the Headingley ground where cricket is played in Yorkshire. I'm not too sure if you are interested in cricket very much, but nice to have you on, mate. And now it is Lockie Ferguson coming in, right arm fast medium to the right-handed Glenn Maxwell, who gets off the mark. So a lot will now be riding on Glenn Maxwell, who has been an explosive batsman for Australia and in franchise cricket over the years. Replay of that wicket. A horrible hoik under the circumstances, attempting to clear long on, but only finding Jimmy Neesham, and the Kiwis are in raptures. So once again, thank you all for joining in. And I think the more we continue with this coverage, the more I would love to have some of you come and join in actually on the video and have a chat with me, because it is lonely doing this on my own right now. Yeah, so as predicted, he has taken Boult and Southey out of the attack and opted to give a few more bowlers some overs. Lockie Ferguson coming in right now. Very distinctive moustache there. Ferguson to Stoinis. And that is played to the fielder, and they are discouraged from even taking a single. So the Kiwis are all over the Aussies right now. 5 overs gone, actually 5.2, and Australia 35 for 3. Not even 7 and over, and it is troubling. These are troubled times for the Aussies. So, another single played by Stoinis all the way to the onside, just sort of dabbed in, and they run a single. So, we're still in the power play, and New Zealand have made the most of it. Ferguson now to Maxwell. Well bowled, cramped up for room, not able to make the most of it. And so that's 2 singles and 2 dot balls. So this is quite not only good bowling from the New Zealanders, but also excellent rotation from Kane Williamson. Ferguson now, 5th ball of the innings. And not quite a slash, but hoping to play that all the way to 3rd man. Doesn't get any more than a single. So 2 runs now for Glenn Maxwell. And I think New Zealand can be very proud of the way they've played this power play. Certainly a power-packed bowling performance. And now they have this win predictor saying that there's an 81 chance of New Zealand winning this. If they don't win this from here, they will be very disappointed indeed. And so, played by Stoinis all the way to the gully fielder. 37 for 3, and the power play is now over. So, with the power play now over, as I've said, the field can now be set as per New Zealand's wishes. And so, Australia will have to do a lot of work to try and make sure they take advantage of any poor deliveries from the New Zealand bowlers. Bolt and Southey have bowled 2 overs each, and Santner and Lockie Ferguson have bowled 1 over each. And there will, of course, be the likes of Ish Sodhi to maybe come into the picture. And Williamson can also chip in with his off-spin, maybe. So how Williamson will rotate his bowlers will be key. And the run rate so far has not been good at all. A run ball would normally be good in one-day international cricket. Of course, back in the day, it would be good. Now it isn't. So, as you can see, Australia have not made the best use of the power play. The best batsman has obviously been Mitchell Marsh. And really not much joy for the Aussies. So it's now the bowling power play, if you will, or the end of the initial power play. And Santner's back into the attack with his left arm spin, bowling to Mitchell. Plays that onto the leg side. Will they get more than a single? Sadly, no. It looks as though Maxwell has slipped over there at the bowler's end. You would have thought that... I think it's fair to say, though, the way they were running between the wickets, they weren't really interested in getting anything more than a single. But a rather unfortunate slip there, but thankfully no harm, no foul. Stoinis now on strike. I think Steve Smith sitting over there in the dugout won't be best pleased. Beautifully bowled by Santner. And Stoinis missed that all ends up, but no edge, no stumping. Yeah, that is the type of arm ball you want to see. I mean, not so much an arm ball, but you see that loop that comes out from Santner's from the left arm spinner's fingers as it causes batsmen all sorts of trouble. And the direction was beautiful. Stoinis was beaten, but still survives. And that was a wide delivery played into the ground, a sort of a fringe shot, if you will, for a single. Santner again, 4th ball of the innings. Played on the offside by Maxwell, and they should only get a single there. So, Mitchell Santner tying things down at one end. Didn't have the best of starts, of course, where he was hit, but he's now tied it down beautifully. 3 singles and a dot ball. Stoinis there caught in 2 minds, belatedly deciding to play that, but not getting past the fielder. And so Australia are now 40 for 3 with 1 ball left in the 7th over. So they're still, at the moment, very, very slow. Very slow indeed. And that has been played straight to the fielder. Not even a single. So terrific. Actually, there is a single there. to end the over. So good work there from Kane Williamson. 41 for 3 off 7, less than 6 and over, and this does not look good if you're an Australian fan. But if you are a New Zealand fan, enjoy it. It's all coming up roses. Yeah, so again, if there are any more people in the chat, please come on, say what you want to say. Oh, we see Ollie in the chat now. Ollie, wonderful to see you. Yeah, and so I see you're going to watch some rugby league today. England are playing later, of course, the Rugby League World Cup going on in England right now. Ryan, enjoy that, mate. When do England cricket play next? Yeah, to answer your question, Ollie, they will be playing after this match later on. There are 2 matches being played today, and England will be playing the second game against Afghanistan. Yeah, so I'll talk about the about your options for StreamYard. But Ish Sodhi is now into the team, an off spinner, 103 wickets from 82 matches with a best of 4 for 28. Certainly a very aggressive sort of left arm spinner with a sort of a shorter yet quicker run up. And let's see what sort of a line he's able to bowl. Oh, actually, he's a leg spinner from the looks of it. And that is hoiked all the way to long leg by Stoinis for 2. Let me take a look at Ish Sodhi. Yeah, it is in fact he is in fact a leg spinner who bowls a wrong un, the googly, if you will. So very different action to Adam Zampa. Certainly a much quicker run up and a quicker release of the ball, and it he probably doesn't attack the batsman necessarily, but in terms of the speed of the delivery, he is able to give them some problems. And that is hit all the way down to the long off boundary, but Tim Southey is there to clean it up, and only a single. So it looks as though the spinners, Santner and Sodhi, will be having a role to play. And the nice thing about Sodhi is that he seems to get through his overs very quickly indeed. So 25 dot balls today for New Zealand. Excellent stuff indeed. And they have certainly stifled Australia so far. Another single from Stoinis. So no joy for them. And 1 ball left in the over. Inderbir Singh Sodhi, or Ish Sodhi, was born in Ludhiana in the Punjab region of India in '92. And he, of course, now plays for New Zealand, where his parents had migrated when he was a youngster. Last ball of Sodhi's over. An attempted reverse sweep, and that goes all the way to the boundary. So Maxwell deciding that enough is enough. And that brings up Australia's 50 after 8 overs. So a moment of respite. And so these figures have been spoiled. So, yep, not too much to suggest that he is necessarily international quality, but his aggressive approach and keen attitude were able to get him a test debut. And so far, he hasn't had much trouble establishing himself necessarily, still 29 years old. A lot of cricket left in him. In fact, he will be celebrating his birthday during the tournament, turning 50. So happy birthday to you, Paji. 17 tests, 41 wickets, 103 in 2020 internationals with a personal best of 4 for 28, as mentioned. So he will certainly have a role to play, and he's gotten through his over very quickly. Continuing with the spin, it is back with the left-arm spinner, Mitchell Santner. And he's certainly maintaining a sort of a line which is not too wide for the right-handed batsman, not really giving him necessarily enough room to try and hit over cover. and certainly can't afford to hit straight down the ground. It's almost as if it's going straight on, really, from his hand. And that is hoiked high in the air. Does it have the distance? And a fielder goes under it and takes an absolute blinder. What a catch! A second wicket for Mitchell Santner, and we're going to find out who that is. It is Glenn Phillips, who was run all the way towards long on. A magnificent diving catch, and with that, Marcus Stoinis has to go. Not the best delivery from Santner, sort of going straight on again. And Stoinis trying to hoik that. He thought he was safe, but Glenn Phillips said, not today, and you are gone. Excellent dive all the way backwards, caught that cleanly, and the Kiwis are once again over the moon, and Australia are in dire straits. 50 for 4. Stoinis has gone for 7 off 14, never really gotten to the swing of things, and it is all happening out there. So let me check the chat right now. Yeah, so to answer your question, Ollie, I am sort of flipping between StreamYard and YouTube to look at channels. I know that Hanno's controlling everything behind the scenes. And of course, as I've said, Ryan, enjoy the rugby. Good luck to England, of course. The Australians have always dominated rugby league so far, but I hope England will be able to get one over on them. Yeah, StreamYard does charge so much for a subscription. You can get the free version, but it's limited recording time. When if you do a few streams a week, it will run out. So that is a problem then. Another reason why, yeah. And of course, your birthday on Tuesday. Happy birthday, mate. Enjoy yourself. Have a good weekend. And and again, enjoy your rugby. And I will chat to you soon. So we are back now on the field. And Timothy David has come into the picture. Personal best of 92 in 2020 International. So he will have a lot on his shoulders. He faces the final ball of Mitchell Santner's third over, and no wicket there, straight to the fielder. And they're replaying the wicket right now where Stoinis trying to give himself some room, just couldn't get enough bat on it, and it's a bird, it's a plane. No, it's Glenn Phillips. Not all superheroes wear capes. Now, actually, Santner does have a few balls left, and that one is played all the way to the boundary where there's a fielder there. Phillips, of course, does some terrific work. And so 2 runs off that ball. So, again, the television is showing that in real time, and you can that's the sort of catch you can watch over and over and over again. So, two balls left in the over. And of course, it's also interesting when you're a bowler, you will see that there's a short line and a long line on either side of the wicket. So if you're a spin bowler, you want to be very careful that you don't bowl from too far outside the crease. Obviously, you don't want to bowl from too far wide. So that could also be cited as a no ball if you're not careful. So 3 runs off this over. Some terrific work from the spinners so far. Final ball off this over. And that is played all the way down to long off for a single. So 54 for 4 off 9, 6 and over. And it is not looking good for the Australians at all. On their home turf, the Sydney Cricket Ground, they will have to do a lot of work, believe me, to get back into the game. Yeah, so once again, anyone else joining in the chat? Ollie, if you're still here, thank you very much indeed for coming in. Yeah, and listen, I'm sorry for focusing on the commentary. I do try to come back to the chats. I can't read the chats, obviously, because I don't really control them. So a required run rate of 13.36 is creeping up. And the thing about T20 cricket is that unless you're able to get on top of things, the required run rate will just get higher and higher, and it'll be far too difficult. Southey now to continue with his more aggressive leg spin. Certainly a very different bowler in terms of action to the legendary Anil Kumble, doesn't really have that much of a... I mean, actually not too dissimilar, but certainly a lot of differences are there. And the first ball is played for a single all the way down to the cover boundary. And so we're almost at the midway point of the Australian innings, and they do not look like scoring. So Williamson has captained and marshaled his bowlers magnificently so far. Second ball, David, who plays that harmlessly to the short cover position brought in. And obviously you can see now with the spinners coming in, the field placings are a lot more aggressive for two right-handed batsmen. So this is looking really good now for the Kiwis. I do not want to see them. Oh, possible shot for a leg before. Now David has gotten some bat onto that. Going through the air. I mean, not exactly providing much in terms of spin in the air. Might have hit his pad, but wasn't really going on to hit the off stump. So no real chance of an LBW there. But this is some pretty impressive stuff from Sodhi. Fourth ball. And that is played all the way down to long on, where the fielder is there, Tim Southey. So only a single. And you could see right now that the bowlers have done magnificently in terms of choking the scoring. So if they are less than 60 after 10 overs, they will be in real trouble. And so down on one knee, played all the way to the square boundary for another single. 4 singles and a dot ball. Good work so far from Ish Sodhi. And at 58 for 4, it is really not looking at all good. So Maxwell might have a little bit too much to do here. Last ball of the over. And that is hoiked all the way. But is there a fielder there? No, that is safe. And that goes for 4. So a little flourish to end that over. Australia now at 62 for 4 off 10. But they are still in some trouble. 139 runs to get at 13.9 and over. And this is where in the middle overs, if they cannot get going, they will leave themselves with far too much to do. So at this midway point, it's fair to say that the difference in captaincy approaches is showing. Williamson has managed his bowlers magnificently so far, as I've said, whereas with Aaron Finch, I think it's fair to say that his decision was a bit misguided at the toss, and his bowlers never really supported him, never quite able to get the right line. And the opening batsman, Finn and Conway were able to make hay. Yeah, that was Finn Allen, of course, who provided that blistering start, and then Conway was able to continue and anchor the innings with that magnificent 92. And as I said, he deserved a century, but he won't be too unhappy with how he played. And still have to catch my breath in a way. This is the beauty of 2020 cricket. It's all about, fine margins, how well captains approach games, how well players approach games. It's regarded as a batsman's game in many ways, but so it's all going to depend mainly on the skill of the bowlers in question. So far, the Kiwis have been absolutely impressive. And tomorrow, of course, is another crunch game between India and Pakistan. I will certainly look to try and cover that. And that has to be a real humdinger. Any clash between India and Pakistan will always be one for the ages. No doubt about it. And obviously in this mid-innings break, there will be a lot of discussion among the batsmen on how they need to approach things. I think Williamson has done a good job so far, but he cannot really afford to rest on his laurels because he knows that with a dangerous batsman like Glenn Maxwell at the crease, nothing is still guaranteed. And of course, after Maxwell and David comes, Stones has already gone. Matthew Wade can certainly hit. The only problem is they do have a reasonably long tail in Pat Cummins and Mitchell Starc, but Cummins and Starc have also been shown that they can wield the long handle quite well. And then, of course, you come to Josh Hazlewood. Decent batsman, I would say, with Adam Zampa being the rabbit. So it is back with Mitchell Santner, who will complete his 4 overs. 2 wickets for 19. Now, it'll be interesting to see what sort of line he bowls and how he can trouble the right-handed David and Maxwell. And clearly there was no trouble for David over there, who hoiks that all the way to the long-on boundary. So it looks as though David and Maxwell have tried to attack Mitchell Santner there. Short, wide, and that's a straight 6 at a distance of 78 meters. So that really eases the pressure. So Santner will really have to be on his game right now. And does that go to the fielder? Yes, it does. Jimmy Neesham once again. So I think Santner's having the sort of day where he says, nobody hits me for 6 and gets away with it. And Tim David over there certainly wanted to repeat his heroics, but I think, with the ball sort of moving towards the offside, David couldn't get any kind of elevation or distance on that. Straight to Jimmy Neesham, and Santner has a 3rd wicket. A rather fortuitous 3rd wicket, but again, neither he nor his teammates will be complaining. 11 for Tim David. He'll be disappointed not to continue. And so, with Stoinis and David now out, Maxwell will be joined by Matthew Wade, the wicketkeeper batsman, who will probably... He can also certainly hit a bit and has been a good batsman in this format. But then, of course, after Maxwell and Wade come the tail. It is all happening out there. 68 for 5, 10.2 overs. And this has been an absolute horror show so far for the Australians. Already in at number 7 is Matthew Wade. They didn't even run for that. I think David knows that he will be disappointed with that shot. So 1,003 runs for Matthew Wade. Personal best of 80 with 350s, strike rate of 132. 55 innings, so definitely very experienced. Left-handed batsman, so does Santner go over the wicket to the left-hander? Yes, he does. Cramping up for room. Not exactly cramping up there. Plays that well down to long off where Trent Boult is standing. So a replay of that wicket. Obviously, with the ball moving towards off, David wanted to try to get across that. He just couldn't get the elevation or the distance, and Jimmy Neesham said, "Thank you very much indeed, mate. Off you go." And you can see the Black Caps are smiling. Reverse sweep from Glenn Maxwell. And that should go all the way to the boundary. So that was definitely needed. Definitely needed. So 2 balls left from Santner's stint so far. He's taken 3 wickets, 3 perhaps fortuitous wickets, but he wouldn't mind. And I think Australia have decided, you know what, we now have to start attacking. And obviously that was a fine reverse sweep there, premeditated, eventually got his bat on the ball and went all the way to the 3rd man boundary. 22nd boundary of the match. And anything to help. So Santner again with 2 balls left. What does he do? Another attempted reverse sweep, but this time he doesn't get bat on ball. And yeah. So Just taking a look over here and seeing that Maxwell is also capable of the switch hit, where he changes his grip from being a right-handed grip to a left-handed grip and then moves across and hits. So Maxwell has been one of those really explosive batsmen over the years, capable of playing some really good shots and playing some really good innings. And he will need to stay the course now. 11 overs gone, 74 for 5, under 7 and over, and it is still not looking very good. So a lot of pressure on Maxwell and Wade, and it will be interesting to see how they withstand that. A good stint from Mitchell Santner, who finishes with 3 wickets for 30 odd. He's done his job, no doubt about it, and it will now be left to see who continues. Spin comes back again through Ish Sodhi. Leg spin now, and it's 3 for 30 for Santner. So can Sodhi pick up a wicket, or will he look to just tie them down? Another attempted reverse sweep from Maxwell, goes straight to the fielder. So it looks as though Maxwell has decided, you know what, I've got to try to hit out as much as I can. If they're playing spin, I'm going to reverse sweep it. And obviously, it's one of those shots which is a sight to behold if it comes off, but if it doesn't come off, it just looks plain ugly. But that is the risk you take. Sodhi again, second ball. And that is hit high and handsome, all the way over the long-on boundary, and that is a welcome 6. It is something that Australia will need. They will need a lot more of that. Thank you very much indeed. Maxwell moves on to 27 off 16. Actually, that's the switch hit. The switch hit comes into play, and that is at 95 meters. That is a brilliant hit. So the trick to playing a switch hit is obviously to make it premeditated. You want to change grips immediately as the ball is being released, and then get into position and then strike that. And obviously, Maxwell has perfected that. Another person who was the pioneer of that really was former England batsman Kevin Peterson, who has recently been in the headlines for football-related reasons. I will not discuss that. Loved watching him as a player, but sometimes when he opens his mouth, he doesn't half speak utter rubbish. So, 80 for 5, Australia. Maxwell on 27. A lot of hopes on his shoulders. And a more conventional back away trying to get that, but doesn't really succeed. So the bowling so far has been magnificent. No balls from New Zealand. No real extras. It's been spot on so far. And Sodhi and Santner have done a brilliant job in effectively choking the Australian batsman. Another attempted reverse sweep, but the ball was going towards Maxwell's leg side. It was the wrong one, I think. And that was only batted down for a single. So just some talk about fantasy points. Not really into much of that fantasy league stuff, whether it's football or cricket or what have you. But certainly Conway has risen high, as has Hazelwood. So yeah, some stuff, good stuff over here. Matthew Wade to face the last ball. And he dabs it down all the way to the mid-wicket area for a single. And he will retain... No, he doesn't retain strike. It's the 5th ball of the innings, so Maxwell is back on strike. No. Yeah. Wade will be on strike for the next over. Read that wrong. And I hope you can all see how difficult it can be sometimes to do some commentary because, obviously if I have to bring it to you, I have to make sure I describe every single thing. A beautiful night at Sydney. Huge capacity crowd. And so Maxwell and Wade still have a huge job to do. Will they be able to pull the chestnuts out of the fire? 82 for 5 after 12 overs. Still far, far behind the curve, but they will probably try to look to hit in the last 5 overs of the innings. And so we see a bowling change with Lockie Ferguson coming back into the attack for some medium pace. Let's see if he can try and cramp Matthew Wade for room. And yes, he does. First ball cramped up for room, round the wickets to the left-hander, and Wade can't really play at that. So once again, very inspired bowling change there from Williamson. A bit surprising because I thought he would have wanted to bring back Bolt to potentially attack Wade and Maxwell, but maybe Williamson thought that the idea of Bowles' express pace would have played into the Australians' hands. But still, this is good stuff from Williamson, captaincy-wise. Round the wicket again. And is there an edge? Nope. Play and a miss. Oh, there is an edge. And Matthew Wade is gone. And there you see, that's the trouble when you watch TV on mute. But it's going from bad to worse now for the Australians because, yeah, around the wicket, obviously trying to, cramp Wade for space. There was an edge. He looked back. Brilliantly taken by Devon Conway. Excellent bowling change from Williamson. A wicket for Ferguson. And the Aussies are now staring down the barrel. 2 from 4 for Matthew Wade. Never got into it. 82 for 6. And we are into the tail. So it will be probably Cummins who comes in, or yep, Cummins comes in. Pun intended. And let's see how his stats are as a batsman. I know that he can certainly wield the long handle and certainly smack a few down the ground. It'll be interesting to see if he can... Yeah, that was edged, outside off. Wanted to drive that, Matthew Wade, but didn't really get any kind of anything other than the thick edge. And once again, the Kiwis are in dreamland and the Aussies are staring down the barrel. So we're going to take a look at Cummins' statistics and see how well he does. Not exactly a record that strikes confidence, but, for a tail-ender, he can certainly hit. And certainly his record as a Test and ODI batsman will be a lot better. We will check that certainly. But Ferguson now to Cummins, the new batsman in. What does Cummins do? Well, does the right thing by backing away. Of course, they're replaying that, and why not? Right arm around the wickets of the left-hander, cramping him for space. And a thick edge. He looked back, and he knew that he was done for. It's all going beautifully for the New Zealanders. And the pre-tournament favourites, the defending champions, are staring down the barrel of an ignominious defeat. But a good swing there from Pat Cummins. Does it go to the boundary? Yes, it does. All the way to the square leg boundary, and that sort of upsets the apple cart a little bit. So Cummins off the mark. He can definitely wield the long handle. Certainly use his height to an advantage and hoik that well. And there was no way any fielder was stopping that. So Cummins will have a role to play. The current Test captain and also ODI captain. And Ferguson now with the 5th ball of the over. And this time it's a swing and a miss, but harmless in the end. So Cummins does have a high score in Tests of 63, only 2 half-centuries, but he can certainly wield the long handle a little bit. High score of 36 in one-dayers. And let's see how well he does on the last ball. Plays that down to mid-on for the single, and he will retain the strike. 87 for 6 off 13, so 7 overs to go. A lot will rest on Cummins' shoulders, but you cannot really, in theory, expect a tail-ender to carry the innings. So I think Cummins' role might be to try and support Glenn Maxwell and see if he can help build some sort of a partnership here. But partnerships have been very, very hard to come by indeed. Lockie Ferguson, of course, very quick. 140 kilometers an hour is his top speed. In the last 5 years, that has been his average speed, rather. So he certainly bowls very, very quick. And now, Sodhi has come back in for his final over. Very inspired change again. New batsman, right-hander. How will he cope with this rather aggressive leg break bowling? Sodhi now to Cummins. And pats back to the bowler harmlessly. Dot ball. Not good news for Australia. So, once again, Kane Williamson has been on the button with his captaincy. It'll be hard to think of a man of the match candidate. I'm sure Devon Conway will be right up there. Second delivery, that should be called a wide, and it is. So pitched on off, going all the way down leg, a little bit of a wrong un. I think the problem with Sodhi is that he seems to enjoy bowling the wrong one, which ends up going the other way a bit too often. So he might have to be careful to keep that close to his chest. And Cummins plays that very well indeed for a single, and that brings Maxwell on strike. Maxwell is on 28 off 19. So a lot rests on Glenn Maxwell's shoulders. The Kiwis have their tails up, literally and figuratively. In case you don't know, a Kiwi is a bird, a very beautiful looking one. Not too sure it necessarily has much of a tail, but enough of being pedantic. Definitely a premeditated reverse sweep, but this time Glenn Maxwell is done for. And the wrong one cleans him up, and Sodhi strikes. What more can be said? Just when you think there might be hope, clearly it premeditated, but he went a little bit too quickly, pitched beautifully, going straight on to hit leg stump, and that's exactly what it did. Completely missed the line. And with that, you've got to say that it is all over, bar the shouting. Australia's last recognised batsman departs. Gave it a really good effort, 28 off 20. As long as he was there, Australia had a bit of hope, but that hope has now been extinguished. So this will almost certainly be a very impressive win unless Stark can join Cummins and help pull the chestnuts out of the fire. Mitchell Stark as well is known to wield long handle. Very decent batsman, but after those two, it will be Hazelwood and Zampa. And of course, you cannot rely on your lower order batsman to do a job for you. So, left-hander, Mitchell Stark coming in. At number 9. A wide, a single, and a wicket. Great way to end his bowling stint. And that is well played by Mitchell Stark all the way to long on, where the fielder, Tim Southey, is waiting. So, again, all over bar the shouting. The wrong on working beautifully and just going all the way past Glenn Maxwell's defenses. Never really was able to get his bat in line. And actually, that was an attempted switch hit there, which he completely missed. Fifth ball played well to long off. Southey is, of course, there. And the reason why Southey stays at the same place but the fielding is different is because for a left-handed batsman and a right-handed batsman, the positions end up changing their names, but the fielders remain the same. So Mitchell Stark to face Ish Sodhi's final ball. Gotten through his overs very well. That goes through to the wicketkeeper and an excellent stint from Ish Sodhi. 1 for 29 off 4 overs. New Zealand 91 for 7 off 14. Barely 6.5 and over. And you have to say quite simply that is that. 6 overs to go, 110 runs to get. I cannot see these two tail-end batsmen getting that to that target, no matter how well they can play. So taking a look at Mitchell Starc and his batting statistics, let's see if they're much to shout about. Obviously, Australia will have to try to put things right against Sri Lanka on the 25th of October. And of course, at the MCG, they will be playing England on the 28th of October, which will be an absolute crunch game indeed. So, Mitchell Starc in T20 internationals. High score of 14, not really inspiring confidence. But Starc does have a test best of 99 and 10 50s in test cricket, along with a high score of 52. And Bolt is now back into the attack, the left-arm seamer. Bowls to Pat Cummins, who swings and misses, but it is harmless. So I think it's fair to say that we can't really see, Cummins and Starc even trying to pull the chestnuts out of the fire here. I think the game is as good as over. New Zealand, of course, will have Afghanistan to play at the MCG next, and their confidence will be high. And that second ball was hit very well by Cummins, but that goes all the way to the fielder at long on. Still some fairly enthusiastic support for Australia, but I think they will see that the game is as good as over. It has been a magnificent bowling and fielding performance from the Kiwis, who were really fired up for this. And again, it's hard to look at a candidate for man of the match. I mean, Santner did have 3 wickets and certainly played his role, but single there for Mitchell Starc. But certainly when it comes to batting, we can't look too far beyond Devon Conway, who anchored the innings magnificently for 92 undefeated runs. They fondly call him the lightning bolt, and with good reason. Certainly quite quick. 2 singles off his 3rd over so far. And that should be called a wide, and it is. Holdstock not making any mistake there. So the big problem, of course, with the fast bowler is that sometimes when you, obviously, if you want to run in, you have to make sure that you're in sync. You do not want the ball to slip out of your hand, and you do not want it not come perfectly from your hand. So it's always a difficult art, fast bowling, especially at that pace. No shout for an LBW, but that cramped Cummins for room. Gets a single out of it, or does he? And just taking a look at the comparative, run diagrams, you cannot see Australia turning it on from here. With 5 overs to go, I just don't see that happening. And that was actually a bye because it went off Cummins' pad. But no doubt about this one. Starc plays it all the way to the leg and gets a single. And singles are probably what Australia might need to give their total a bit of respectability. Still haven't scored 100 runs yet in the 15th over. I think they're going to have to look back on this game and say that they got a lot of major decisions wrong, and there will be changes. Last ball of the over. Dug out by Cummins, all the way to long on. Ferguson's over there, throws it back. And after 15 overs, it is 97 for 7. I can imagine that there will be some ironic cheers from at the SCG when Australia finally get to the 100 mark. But this has been an absolutely dominant performance from New Zealand so far. And with 104 runs to get off 5 overs, the game is lost. Of course, technically it isn't lost per se, because if you do have a really big over, say if you're able to score 20 or 30 off an over, you could give yourself a chance. But to have to do that repeatedly, it is a big ask. The spinners were able to choke the batsman. Santner, of course, had a few wickets. He was able to get the Aussie batsman to play and then took 3 of those. And so Boult has now finished his 3rd over. He has 1 more left. And who will be coming back into the attack? One would imagine that Pat Cummins might end up replacing Aaron Finch as captain and end up captaining in all 3 formats. Lockie Ferguson back into the attack for his 3rd over. 2 off 8, so 8 runs off 2 overs so far. And that is hoiked all the way over the field. And that should go to the boundary. And that brings up Australia's 100. So some ironic cheers there, definitely. And yeah, you can see that Cummins was able to, wield that long handle and get it over the fielders over there, Southey. And I think Williamson were left to run after that. And they weren't able to stop that going to the boundary. So more of a distraction and irritation for New Zealand than anything else. But will they get more of that? Hoiked over again by Cummins. Does that go for 6? Yes, it does. So I think Cummins has now decided to come into the party, and he's decided to attack Lockie Ferguson. Definitely more of a case of the tall Pat Cummins, again, using the long handle, connecting with that quite well. A 90-meter 6. Is the fight back on? Is the fight back on? We will have to wait and see. So there is still some hope, perhaps. It's 13th 6 of the game. What does Ferguson do? He responds brilliantly with a Yorker that cramps Cummins for room, and Cummins cannot do anything with that. So, real strength of character there to, respond to that. And of course, there's a replay of that sensational diving catch. Again, is it a bird? Is it a plane? Nope, it is Glenn Phillips. And so Cummins does have a really good strike rate against pace bowling, able to use the pace of the ball effectively. He plays that down to long off where Tim Southey is standing. Cummins now moves to 20 off 15. So with 4 overs to go, could there be an almighty heist? It just goes to show that in this form of the game, it will never be over until it's over. And I don't know if KFC delivery is still in the chat, but I think his prediction of 27 runs was a little bit too short. Round the wicket to the left-handed Mitchell Starc. Swing and a miss, no edge, dot ball, and that suits New Zealand just fine. And so clearly, New Zealand are in no real hurry to try and, start panicking, because they know that Australia still need another 90-odd runs in the next 4 overs. So it will still remain to be seen what can really happen. Last ball of the over. Well played by Mitchell Starc, but that should go all the way to the fielder at deep mid-wicket. 109 for 7 with 4 overs to go, and let me check the chat. Yeah. Okay, so Hanno's back in the chat. New Zealand got an even 200 runs. You know my reaction to Phillips's catch. I think you might be wanting for Hanno's reaction. And I think you're right, the KFC delivery, it will be too late. Yes, you predicted a 27-run win. It will be more. And I think Hanno's regretting not backing the Black Caps. Yeah, so obviously there is no hope. I think KFC delivery looks very confident. But again, 4 overs to go with Cummins wielding the long handle, Starc playing a supporting role. You just never know. But now we might know, because first delivery from Trent Boult's final over, a lightning bolt of a delivery, and that beats Mitchell Starc. All ends up 109 for 8, and that, you could say, is it. We will see the delivery once again. It just goes to show you cannot take your eye off the television. Terrific delivery, full length. Starc completely misses the line. Ball going down the Piccadilly, bat swinging across the Bakerloo, and it's fair to say that Australia's fortunes are now down the loo. 109 for 8, 4 off 7 for Mitchell Starc. couldn't really provide the support to Cummins that he wanted, and now it really is, you should say, all over, because Josh Hazlewood will be coming in. I really don't have much hope for him being able to do very much with the bat either. Batting and fielding in terms of Test cricket has a high score of 39, a best of 23 in one-day internationals. Again, very limited stats in T20 ODI cricket. Oh, it's a Zampa who's come in right now. So, again, they're replaying the wicket. So I'm a bit surprised that Zampa has been brought in. I was expecting that Hazel would have gotten his chance. Full straight. Not exactly a Yorker length delivery, but Stark completely missed that. And that's it. Beaten all ends up. And Boult has his reward. And he's got another one. It's all happening. They're all falling like 9 pins. And of course, 9 pins have fallen. 2 wickets and 3 balls. And that's it. Zampa simply couldn't get to grips with that. Another short, fuller length delivery, completely missing the line. Leg stump pegged back. And that is it. It could be over in this over. A second ball duck for Adam Zampa. And now comes Josh Hazlewood. So, fair to say that Zampa couldn't have been trusted to lend very much with the bat. And that is it. I think it's fair to say that the Australians will not be satisfied with their performance at all. Bit of a chat going on right now between Cummins and Hazlewood. I'm not too sure what sort of a role Hazlewood will play. He is now on strike to Boult, who has 2 off 3. A sort of a belated reward for the Lightning Boult, who has bowled really well. You miss, I hit. The batsman missed, and Boult struck. So, another left-hander, Hazlewood. Bowls right arm fast, but bats left-handed. Interesting combination, that. 31 years old. Let's take a look at his stats again. Don't really inspire that much in terms of confidence, but I think he's probably got a remit to go and just enjoy himself. Because I think it's quite clear that the match is now all over bar the shouting. This has quite simply been a magnificently dominant performance, and the negative run rate will set Australia back very, very badly indeed. And I think when Australia look back on this, they will almost certainly look back on their decision to bowl first and how they weren't able to take advantage of the power play. And of course, the start that they got with the bat didn't help. Of course, more cricket to come later on today. In the next few minutes, it will be England against Afghanistan from the Perth Stadium. Sadly, we will not be covering that, but if tomorrow you will join us for the watch along for India and Pakistan, we will provide you, of course, with the news from that. And so that is played by Hazlewood to the leg side for a single. Cummins back on strike. So I think Cummins might probably want to try and hit out and just end things with a bit of a flourish. And you see the dejected-looking Aaron Finch over there. He'll be thinking that everything that could go wrong today has gone wrong. 2 balls left and Boult's over. Over the wicket to the right-handed Cummins. Just let that go by. No edge. And also glum-looking Steve Smith over there. You think he might probably feature in the next game, maybe. I think he might have to be brought back in, especially with England coming up on the horizon. So 2 wickets and a dot ball in this over. This is, of course, Trent Bolt's final over, and let's see if he can finish it off with a flourish. Played down to long on for a single, and Cummins retains the strike, and Australia are on Nelson. 2 for 24 off 4. Excellent stint from Trent Bolt, gets his reward. And when you have a bowler like him who can bowl full and straight and maybe get some Yorkers in and clean up the tail, it's always an advantage. So, once again, Williamson marshalling his bowlers very well. A bit of a worry there when Lockie Ferguson bowled that previous over where he was hit for a 6 and a 4 by Pat Cummins using the long handle brilliantly. But with 1 wicket left, I really cannot see anything else happening here. It should be all over. 90 runs to get off 3 overs, 30 and over. Nobody's getting that. And it will be Southey to bowl his 3rd over. Can he take the final wicket? It is high. Is there a fielder under it? Yes, he can! And New Zealand complete an absolute thumping of the Australians by 89 runs. And they lay down their marker magnificently in this tournament. Conway was able to catch that, and Southey gets another reward. So 3 wickets each for Tim Southey and Mitchell Santner, 2 wickets for Trent Bolt, 1 for Lockie Ferguson, 1 for Ish Sodhi. Everything spread around beautifully, and an outstanding bowling performance, an outstanding rotation of his bowlers by Kane Williamson, and a terrific win for the New Zealanders. And of course, a fine batting performance with Finn Allen getting the Kiwis off to a brilliant start. Devon Conway anchoring the innings magnificently with 92, and a few other contributions in between. It's really hard to look for a man of the match candidate. I think it has to be said that Conway might be the one to take that, because to stay the course for the entire 20 overs, to be able to anchor everything and ensure that there would be no thrills was a brilliant performance from him. Of course, Williamson chipped in with a run of all 23. Phillips had a couple of 4s, and then Neesham was able to smack a couple of 6s near the end. He scored at a rate of 200. It's really, really hard to look at this as anything other than a disappointment for the Australians, but for the New Zealanders, it has been a magnificent performance. They've laid down a marker, and the defending champions will have a lot of work to do, because believe you me, with England on the horizon, they do not want a repeat of this performance. But the Kiwis are flying. The Kiwis are flying. You have seen it here. And Hanno has rejoined us. Hanno, you must have seen that game. How did you enjoy that, son?
That was a good game. New Zealand absolutely being destructive. I thought Australia, first game of the tournament, home tournament, I thought they would turn up, but they didn't. And big L for Australia. But Manny, you need to hold your L, mate. You said New Zealand don't get into the group, won't get out of the group. How are you feeling now after seeing that dominant performance?
Look, it's the first game. We've seen shocks happen. And if we know anything about this Australian team, they are not the defending champions without a reason. So they will find a way to fight back. There will be some changes in the team. I would think that Stephen Smith will come into the team in place of one of the middle order batsmen who didn't really do too well. I think Tim David in particular, a lot was expected from him, but he never really got into the picture, into the party very much. Stoinis might keep his place in the side as an all-rounder, although if Smith were to come in, he can provide another spin option in place of Stoinis. And tough decisions will have to be made, and obviously Finch will look back on his day as being an absolutely terrible day, from getting his decision wrong at the toss to not quite firing with the bat. That dismissal of David Warner was as fortunate and fortuitous and as freakish as you could get, but the Kiwis weren't complaining. And All I can say is, Hanno, the Kiwis have laid down a marker, and it will be, if every single game will be like this, and it will be wonderful. I only wish we could cover the England-Afghanistan game to take place in the next half an hour, but it might be too long. But all I can say is thank you for letting me cover this. It was terrific, and I'm glad I was able to do this.
Yeah, definitely. Big up Money, big up yourself, big up Casey, big up, actually, big up the whole chat. Let's say, Anu's internet only had to work when the match finished. Yeah, it didn't work. But we also went out in town. So yeah, I couldn't really join. But yeah,
yeah. And I think they've got a presentation ceremony going on right now, and I think Conway has been awarded the man of the match. Yep, player of the match for an amazing innings of 92 or 58 balls, 2 sixes and 7 fours in that innings, a strike rate of over 158, close to 160, top performance. If only I could, repeat what is being said, I would, but my television is on mute for a reason. But I'm pretty certain that he would be really happy with that, especially with the way Finn Allen started magnificently only to get bowled out by Josh Hazlewood. Conway took it upon himself to get himself settled in and then start accelerating. And obviously with the likes of Williamson and later on Neesham as company, he got into the groove and stayed in the groove and was grooving all the way. And I think he would be really happy to see New Zealand post an even 200, which was probably a score that would be difficult to chase under lights. And with New Zealand spinners coming into play, I think they choked Australia magnificently. I think they were lucky to get to Nelson, to be honest.
Yeah, definitely. But Australia, I think, of course, last time, last World Cup, T20 World Cup, they also barely scraped through the group, and when they found that combination of Mitchell Mars and Matthew Wade, they just went on a rampage, and they won the last World Cup. So maybe it's the same story this time, but we will see. But yeah, before we wrap everything up, Mani, England, Afghanistan, your prediction?
England should win. I mean, Afghanistan will pose a little bit of a threat with some of their players. Obviously, the likes of Mohammed Nabi, Najibullah Zadran, and Rashid Khan, and a few others will have a role to play. But I think the way England have evolved, they seem to have a team which is more than capable of scoring against pace and spin, and their bowlers will be very eager to attack quite well. Of course, they don't have the left-arm seamer Reece Topley in their team, but I think they have enough about them with Mark Wood leading the attack to do quite well. And as long as Moeen Ali and Adil Rashid and others can provide some spin, I think they should be a well-rounded team. The one thing England won't do will be to take Afghanistan for granted, and they do have bitter memories themselves of some very wretched T20 performances in days gone by. In fact, I mentioned in yesterday's stream that their record against the Netherlands is not a very pretty one. And of course, they're showing replays of that catch from Glenn Phillips. I think there were so many turning points really in the Australian innings when New Zealand were bowling and fielding. And it's as if with every wicket, you just felt as though the screw was being turned. The Aussies became more desperate, and they knew with every wicket falling that the game would be up. But I mean, England should have a comfortable win, but they're not going to take the Afghans lightly. And it will be hard to say to give you the margin, because I don't know if they will be bowling or batting first. But yeah, it should be a good win for England, a nice, easy start. And they should get some momentum when they come up against Australia and New Zealand later on in the group. And they will be placing Sri Lanka, I think, as their. I don't know who they're facing after Afghanistan. It might be Sri Lanka, I think.
Yeah, but Um, yeah. Wait, just hold on a sec.
Yeah, I'll just take a look right now and see who England will be
And I'm
facing. And no, actually, England's next game will be against Ireland after that because Sri Lanka have to play both Ireland and Australia. So Ireland will be playing England next on the 26th of October, and that will be something fun. And there is an update. I believe Joss Butler has won the toss, and we will see if they will be fielding or batting first. So this is just going to be a quick update. We're obviously not going to cover the match, but I will let you know. Yeah, England have won the toss, and they've also decided to field. So their bowlers are going to have to do a better job than Australia's and try and prevent Afghanistan from getting a big total. But we're not going to cover that match, obviously. Let me thank all of you who have joined in the chat and kept me in good company. Let me also thank Hanno for. Oh, I see we've got some more chats here. So yeah.
yeah. KFC says England have won the toss and will bowl first.
Yes.
I think England will win, but I hope Afghanistan do them over.
You would
If you
hope
don't
that for
know,
that, wouldn't
the
you?
South African England rivalry is strong and will stay strong
Of
till the end.
Of course, of course, of course, of course, of course. And of course, we Englishmen have poached quite a few of your players to play for us. So I'm sure there will be some hard feelings from your side. We see Mohammed Nabi speaking to Mike Atherton now. And I think that's pretty much it. So good luck to England. I hope they win. And of course, I know that Hannah will be cheering for the Afghans. I don't think I'll be able to watch the match, but once again,
Rashid Khan is going to spin the 360.
I don't think so.
Oh, Rashid Khan.
I think England have enough to cover him. So, once again, thanks to
Okay.
all of you who've joined in the chat and kept me company, and of course, thanks to Mr. Trollope over here for letting me do this. It was absolute fun, really exciting, really enjoyed it. Please subscribe to his channel. Once again, I will give you his Instagram social media details. It's Hanno_coach_corner on Instagram. And on Twitter, let me just get to his account and let me tell you his Twitter handle. And yes, his Twitter handle is Hanno70830030. That's Hotel Alpha November Oscar 70830030 on Twitter. Keep subscribing to him, smash the likes, get notifications. We do a lot of terrific stuff on this channel, and thank you very much indeed for coming on. You can also catch me on social media on Instagram at MannyThungathrai1981, on Twitter at Thungathrai1981, and just catch me on a few other channels on YouTube. But once again, Hanno, thank you very much indeed. It was terrific to do this, and I cannot wait to cover the India-Pakistan match tomorrow if you will be able to do so.
I think we'll be definitely doing that. What is that, the early one or the later one?
I believe that will be the early one that will be on starting at the same time as the Australia-New Zealand match did today. That will be at 12:30 p.m. IST, 8 a.m. in the UK, 9 a.m. in South Africa.
Then I will catch. Then I'll join from the start of maybe the first innings. Not the start. At the end of the first innings, I will join. But yeah.
Very good, very good.
But yeah.
So we've been on for nearly three and a
Okay,
half
as
hours.
Manny
Once
said,
again, yeah. What'd you say?
no, just as Manny said, be up to ourselves, and yeah, be up Manny for doing this. 3 hours and 30 minutes. Well done, Manny. Well done. Yeah. Seems like the people enjoy you on the channel. When I always have you on the channel or you're hosting something, the views do great, right, and everything. So yeah, definitely, Manny will be seen more on the channel. And yeah, be up everyone, and we are out.